And hello, friends. Welcome to the R&R&R Show. My name is Ruel, joined by Chris and Ray. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. How's it going, friends?
It's going good. Doing the PAX recovery process right now, to be honest.
Yes.
I'm in my parents' house right now, so the background looks a little bit different. I apologize for that, but
Cool.
yeah, just hunkering down, playing some games with family, and trying to recover from a very successful but very exhausting final convention of the year.
Yeah, it's always a good time in Philly.
I said this off stream, but I'm going to say it again because I thought it was funny. I'm also at Ray's parents' house, but I'm just outside the window watching them play games. And it does look like they're having a lot of fun in there. So I'd love to join at some point, but maybe one day. I'll keep you all posted, but they've been laughing. It's been a little cold out here.
Yeah.
But there's been lots of warm fires and happy moments, and so I'm just really happy you're all experiencing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
it's like that animal nice. PSA: if you're cold, they're cold. Bring them inside. That's Chris outside our window, just freezing.
Wherever there are games, that's where I am, just in the window.
Oh, I love that image in my head. Friends, you are joining us for the pre-show. We're hanging out, chit-chatting about all things games and not. And basically what we do is hang out here for a little while, and then we're going to record for YouTube our top 5, this time, our top 5 Stonemaier games. And yes, we do have a special guest who's coming on later in the show. We're super excited about that. I'm going to be turning things over to Ray and Chris because I'm dying back here as normal, just trying to get the back end stuff going. So if y'all have questions, if you have comments, let us know. And
how's it going in the chat? What have you all been playing lately? And Ray, okay, let's talk about it. What have you been playing? Because I've gotten a good glimpse from my point of view in the window, but I haven't seen all the pieces. So, what have you been playing recently that caused so much?
Boo with my mom, the new Devere game, I think is how that is pronounced. I'd never heard of it, but I watched Emily, the new contributor to Shut Up and Sit Down, did an absolutely just banger video on it. I completely adore her style, and her video convinced me to try it out, which it wasn't a game that particularly grabbed me otherwise. But man, I'm really liking it. I have my complaints about it, but like that little bamboo track that you've got going on, real sexy stuff. I have been enjoying it a lot. That's been our game right now. And then we just got Fox Experiment, which I haven't tried yet, but that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Is I'm going to be learning and teaching Fox Experiment, which I'm very excited for. I don't know if anyone in the chat, if you got your copy earlier, if anyone's got any thoughts, let me know, but I'm very excited. Yo, Tony, welcome on it. Thank you for that Prime sub.
Thank you for subscribing. Thanks, Tony. Here.
I love you, Tony. Thanks for being here. Also, it's just, I want to say again, it's really nice to see so many familiar faces in chat. I really appreciate it. I did announce on Twitter a couple hours ago that I am kind of joining this crew for a little bit. I'm sticking around. They liked me so much last stream that they're like, please never leave.
We're super excited.
It is a significant improvement. You have Ruel and I, I know people have been putting us on for their mid-afternoon naps, and that's nice. But now we got the perfect energy. We got an amazing
Chaos
personality.
Is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, we're gonna have ourselves a great time.
But
yeah, we're so thrilled to have
it's just really good to be here.
Thank you again for joining us. And Barefoot Bug, thank you for subscribing. Folks, we're getting close to the hype train. Did y'all know, if you subscribe to the channel, and you can do so free if you have an Amazon Prime account, you get all kinds of free perks, really cool stuff like discounts on Rahdo merch, and you also, the big one that I've been hyping up, and I love the fact that we do this, if you're a subscriber, you get a secret playlist, folks, of Richard and Jen playing all kinds of different games. And this is only accessible by subscribers. And there's right now, I think it's 21 games on there. So if you subscribe, we will whisper you that link. So thank you for your support, friends.
Secret.
So Brian 79, thank you for the sub.
Yo, Linnaeus, it's good to see you. Oh my God, there's so many good friends in chat. I got to see so many people at PAX too, which is like, that's nice. My favorite thing is getting to meet people at PAX and then getting to see them again in chat. And I know Ruel's dying, but I know that he had a lot of really great community stuff that he was doing at PAX. He had like a little section of the free play area that he just marked out and just was playing games there all the time with friends, which I wish I had done that. Honestly, in retrospect, walking the hall was cool, but when I bumped into Ruel and he said basically that he had marked off a couple tables in free play and was just had snacks and had people filtering in, and I was like, that is what I should have done. Because I kept bumping into people, and I mean, I've been talking about this a lot. I'll complain about it to anyone who will listen, but this is like, this past PAX was my first show where I wasn't either behind a booth the whole time or behind a camera. So I went into it thinking I'm going to have all this time, I'm going to play all these games. And it turns out just attending a con it's the same amount of hours in a day as working a con. And it was actually really hard to do all the things I thought I was going to be able to do. So I hope anyone who stopped by Ruel's little meetup enjoyed it, because that seemed like the exact way to approach PAX this year, and I wish I had done that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Ray. It was really cool. I made it a point this year for PAX to, take as few meetings as possible, business-wise, and just focus on the Discord community. And so many people showed up, and we had a couple of tables there, and everyone brought snacks, which was great, because that's all I do. I play snacks, I play games and eat snacks, or play snacks and eat games. But we had a wonderful time. It was great seeing you both, and I want to do this at other cons where we just get some free play area and just hang out, play games, and just connect and hang out with good folks.
I think that's a great idea.
That's the move.
I felt like I wanted to play more games at PAX, it's funny. Yeah, AG Fox said, now we know what Chris looks like peering in the window. Yeah.
That's
AG Fox also said, the more some people who subscribe and follow,
the exact POV.
And I'm like, honestly, it is an incentive. It's an incentive, people, to follow and subscribe. But I always found that, like, I didn't do as much game playing as I personally had set out as my goal. And I think if I'd just been like, you know what, Saturday's gameplay day, we're going to the Ruel area in the open gaming, just sitting down and not leaving, and just like making that a priority or something along those lines, I think it would have amplified my experience significantly.
And you would have been able to actually find a table. I struggled so hard so many days to find just an open table at free play. That was really the big brain move, was to stake out a table, because I struggled so much trying to find a table anywhere, which is good because it means it was busy, but I almost feel like they didn't adequately anticipate the demand of people just wanting to sit down and play games. And
this show was definitely,
because there were a lot of people. Yeah.
Yes, it was huge. It was amazing. It's really cool to see PAX kind of getting its identity, because for the last couple of years, I haven't really known like what like the PAX demographic is. Like when you think of Gen Con people, right? There are people for whom like Gen Con, that's their thing, is going to Gen Con. They've been going to Gen Con for 25 years, whatever. You can kind of picture a real hardcore Gen Con fan. PAX U fans, it's been kind of nebulous. And I feel like this year it's really starting to get its footing, and it was really cool to see how it's coming along as a newer show.
Pardon me while I eat my lunch, folks. And,
no, you're good.
Yeah, thank you. There's a comment from Linnaeus right there.
Yeah, Linnaeus saying the big thing. We love playing games, but we're just so excited to see our friends. We end up chatting and not playing games. I know.
That's so true. What
is this socialization that's happening here? That's not so. I went over to a friend's house to play games last night, and we played 2 games and just talked the rest of the evening like chumps. Really, I was disappointed in myself.
Fake fan, fake gamer. Religion has a really interesting question. How would you differentiate PAX attendees from Gen Con attendees? I want to answer this myself, but I also want to open this up because that was kind of my job at PAX. I was going on behalf of the op to kind of see where the show is these days, because hopefully I think I convinced the op to show at next year's PAX. Like, hopefully we will have a booth. But that was one of my missions when I was going, because the op makes so many different types of games. It's like, okay, we can go, but what's our focus going to be? Like when we go to Gen Con, right? Our focus like this past year was Perfect Wave and our hobby games. But like, what do we bring if we show to PAX? And I feel like I think I know what I would say to that question, but I'd be curious, Chris, if you have thoughts on like how you would differentiate the attendees between PAX and Gen Con, or anyone in chat, if you've got thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I've never been to Gen Con, so it's a little bit harder for me to...
I forgot. You mentioned that. You're a little convention baby. I forgot about that.
I am a convention baby. I've been to PAX and I've been to Origins. And then I go to
born at Origins. I forgot.
Yeah, I was born at Origins. I emerged. Well, there's also this great little thing, little place that it's the Niagara Board Gaming Weekend. It's like it was in Niagara Falls. Now it's in Grimsby, Ontario. And you can get tickets. And it's just like a big board game meetup. Everybody, there's no library. People bring like a stack of games. Like everybody brings a bag and you pull out a game and you're like, whose is this? Can I play this right now? And everyone's like, yeah, go for it. And it's just like, it's super great. Like, so stuff like that I really like. And I've been to like Breakout Con in Toronto and it's a very similar vibe. It's a little bit bigger. Breakout Con's a little bit bigger, a little bit more organized. But again, it's like focusing on that, like that game playing style. Same with like WSBG, which I'm of course involved in and do a lot behind the scenes. But that idea of just like setting aside the time to play games, those are the types of conventions I really like. And so I would say a PAX attendee, from my hypothetical of a Gen Con attendee, is Gen Con. There feel like there's just more booths at Gen Con, but PAX's expo hall felt pretty big to me. I don't know.
It did, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on this. For me, PAX is becoming less of like, one of the things that I heard a lot of people mentioning was that there was no big release at PAX this year. A lot of this was just getting together and hanging out. Like even just evidenced by the fact that when I was at PAX this year, one of my other missions was to show people Gnome Hollow, which is a prototype of a game we're releasing next year. And I got to meet up with a couple of different content creators, be like, hey, you want to play some Gnome Hollow? And they actually said, yes, right now, let's go. And that would never happen at Gen Con because they would have back-to-back meetings. They would have all these like press meetings, all these things these formal obligations that they had. And I had multiple friends who they're like, yeah, let's do it right now. And I was like, really? I kind of didn't expect you to have time for that. And that was, from my perspective, just as an attendee, really cool that people had a little bit more time to hang out. Obviously, never as much time as people want. But in terms of the difference in attendees, this was something that, I don't know. I'd love to know from someone else who was at PAX if you felt the same way, but I felt like there was more of a focus on TTRPGs than there had been in last year's. Several of the special guests were like young TTRPG, like TikTok stars. And I thought that was a really cool sort of niche for them to start carving out. A lot of the events had to do with TTRPGs and DMing. And I thought that was really interesting. There weren't necessarily more families than at Gen Con, but there were more like young adults. There was more of a focus on, the hot new like TTRPGs, which is, becoming really popular with that demographic. I would say almost more so than board games these days, which is really cool. So that it opens up some interesting marketing decisions for what we do bring for next PAX U. It's really cool to see it kind of gaining that identity in a way. Yeah. Tony said Matt Mercer being the headliner personality also fed into that, at least that perception. I don't know if that's really the reality that there were more TTRPG people this year, but it felt like the show was putting more emphasis on that than in previous years, and then the other big 3 board game shows. So super cool. I know Tony took a day off working CGE to stand in line to see Matt Mercer. He took a vacation day at PAX U so that he could stand in line to listen to Matt Mercer. I could not do that, but I hope you had a fun time, Tony. Hope that was cool. James says, when is PAX? So it's the first weekend in December, which also feeds into that sort of vibe of PAX because it's right before the holidays. Most publishers don't announce major titles right before the holidays. So it has that slightly more like, let's all see our friends and recap the year sort of energy, as opposed to, the cult of the new that Gen Con sort of fosters.
I've got a question from Jamey Wood, who says, what's the main focus of PAX U? Open play, shopping, events? Because honestly, even having been there, I don't know.
Me neither, actually.
I don't know what the answer to this question is. And I was there. I kind of
want to say open play.
Yeah.
I kind of want to say open play, but
it was too full. So a lot of people were doing it. I guess there's that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's definitely more of a focus than like Gen Con or Origin, Gen Con, right? Where there's a lot of free play. But from what I heard, again, I just heard this secondhand, but one of the vendors I was talking to said that there was a point for about an hour or so, I think on Saturday, where they felt it was like Gen Con numbers, like just the number of people going to the booths and buying stuff.
I heard that too.
It's grown. It's definitely grown.
Yeah, super cool. Linnaeus has a really good point. She says it discourages big releases since it's so close to the end of the year. Yeah. It's a risk to release a game at the end of the year and be worried it might miss best of the X year. Yep, absolutely. Because most people don't play it till the following year. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a weird time for a show. But I kind of like that they're leaning into it a little bit, and they're not backpedaling on it. They're staking that weekend, and it's just developing its own identity by virtue of being so late in the year and not having as many releases as Gen Con.
It is interesting though. There are two that I can think of that had their release like a couple days before or announced.
Which games?
Mind Clash had Ironwood, which I got to demo.
Yep.
It feels like a 2-player like head-to-head, like it's like a 2-player route. It feels like you have an iron thing or a wood thing, and they're battling each other. And I was like, oh, when did this get announced? They're like, oh yeah, just 2 days ago. I was like, oh, just for no. They're like, yeah, we released it 2 days ago. I was like, okay. And then also Arcade Wonders too. I think Planetfall that was coming out like sort of dropped around that area too. Planetfall it's a drafting game, very simple drafting game. You get to 2 cards in an age, and there are like 7 planets that you go to, and you get 2 cards from each, and then most points wins, right? But I thought that was interesting because I also was expecting no new releases, and then but there wasn't any fanfare about these releases. It was like, oh yeah, this was announced 2 days ago. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just here. You want to try it? Yes.
I want to go back to what's the name of the first game you mentioned? Ironwood.
Ironwood.
Yeah. Okay. I talked about this. I streamed on my own personal channel. I was talking about this when I streamed on Sunday. I somehow got the name of that game mixed up with something else. And I was desperately trying to find it because you described it as 2-player reach me. I was like, that sounds awesome. I want to try it. But my silly lizard brain got it scrambled with something else and ended up sitting down for a game that is not that at all. And I won't say it because I don't want to disparage the game in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. It's just not for me. So I went on this fool's errand trying to find this game because I couldn't remember the name of it. But you had like mentioned, we talked about other games around the same time. So I was like trying all this. I was like, none of these are right. Where is this game? Okay. I should have texted you. Well, I was too busy being embarrassed in a demo I wasn't enjoying and like trying to figure out how to quietly leave. The game was good. It's just not my type of game.
Hey,
so
you
then I gave
up. The game was bad. You didn't say what game it was. So
I didn't say what game it was. That's very true. It's very true. But I think my highlight of PAX U was I got to play a game of Blood on the Clock Tower, which I'm a big social deduction person, and I think I had my single favorite gaming moment of the year in this game of Blood on the Clock Tower. I think it wins. I don't know if that's a competition, but it wins best moment in games for me. Not Fingergate Chicken. Fingergate's a close second. That also happened during that Blood on the Clock Tower game, but that was less fun for me. So what happened during this game of Blood on the Clock Tower, if you're unfamiliar, Blood on the Clock Tower is like really intense mafia, right? Where instead of, or like werewolves or something, but instead of werewolves where you have a handful of baddies who are trying to get everyone and everyone else is just a regular villager, Blood on the Clock Tower, everyone's got a role that does some nonsense. And the scenario of Blood on the Clock Tower that we were playing involved a role called the lunatic, which is a person who thinks they're the demon the entire game, but they're not. So and the demon's like the bad guy, right? And so every night this person gets woken up by the narrator, they pick people to kill, and then they go back to sleep. And then the narrator will wake up the person who is actually the demon, who will actually choose who to kill. So the lunatic thinks they're in control of the whole game. And it was such a delight because I was the real demon and my very good friend John, who's sitting right next to me, was the lunatic. And I was playing some of the sloppiest demon gameplay you've ever seen. I was playing terribly, but I was having so much fun gaslighting my friend for a solid 2.5 hours. Every night I would wake up, I'd pick the same people so he never caught on. And I was playing really bad demon gameplay. So I needed him to stick around because he was acting suspicious because he thought he was the demon. So I was like, I need this man to stay in this game and continue acting suspicious for me. And then the end of the game comes, he dies. You know, me and my minion, we celebrate, and I got to turn to him, and he was like so confused. Like, what is going on? Because this was also his first time playing Blood on the Clock Tower. He didn't really realize that this was a possibility. I got to turn to him, and I got to be like, my love, you're a lunatic. Nothing you think happened for the last 2.5 hours actually happened. And the disillusionment and shock on his face. Peak gaming experience for me because I got to watch him walking around trying to be sneaky, trying to not be suspicious.
You just got to watch the whole thing. Right? That's so fun.
he was just nothing. He was just, his character canonically was just insane and didn't know what was going on.
I love
and
that.
Oh my God. How does the lunatic not know they are not the real demon? Because again, they get treated as the demon by the storyteller. The storyteller will give them all the choices that they would give the regular demon. And like, depending on how the real demon plays the game, you can catch on very quickly, I'd imagine, if the people you think you're killing aren't dying. But I went hardcore into like, I'm going to gaslight this man. I might not win this game, but I sure as hell will have a really fun time making my friend feel insane.
Yeah. That sounds incredible. Yeah.
It was awesome. It was so much fun.
That's the key about Blood on the Clock Tower too, is that like you have an unreliable narrator essentially, right? You have a moderator who may lie to you, and it's the role of the moderator to balance the game and make those micro adjustments. If they feel one team is like going to snowball the whole game, they try to tweak and give the information that makes it a little bit more difficult for one side or the other. And
it's what's going on.
So,
what happened?
The chat. I don't know if there's
Oh no.
All of us or just one person?
I can hear my, and then on the Twitch stream I can hear like a little like
Okay, someone just dropped a bomb. It occasionally gets glitchy.
Oh, I heard myself kind of come back.
Okay.
Oh, there's a big boom with the stickers. I heard the bomb with stickers.
It was a big boom.
Now
That's what that was.
It's back.
Back to normal.
It's back. Seems like it's back now.
And
it's back.
All
now.
right.
Friends in chat, how is I was tweaking. Well, I was playing around with the volume for our voices. How does someone had mentioned I was like really low. Let me know.
And you compensated by that by making sure that Ray and I were completely out.
Just totally off. So yeah, they can't even
He took us out. Eliminate the competition.
That's true. Well, he heard you talking about the demon and was like, "Well, I can't trust Ray anymore."
Okay,
trust Ray.
We're even now. Thank you. I'll project a little more with my voice.
Thanks,
as well.
Billy.
Hey, check out this. We were talking about Planetfall. Look what's on my table right now, friends.
Look
nice.
at that.
There you go.
So this is our. We will talk about this more when we record for YouTube, but this is our sponsor today, Arcane Wonders. They sent me this beautiful playmat, and that's what we wanted to show off. Like, I have not played this game yet. I just literally just set it up right now as we're talking, and hopefully,
it plays super quick. It's like 20-30 minutes. Like really.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, seems pretty cool.
The playmat for it though is really nice because the base game kind of just comes with like a little thing on the outside, and then you splay cards out. But I don't know. There's something about, I'm not a huge playmat guy, but I saw it with the playmat, and then I had the base retail. And I was like, well, where do I put my cards? Where's the little sections for my cards to lay them all out all night?
I love playmats that tell me exactly how to set it up and everything.
Cool.
I don't see this art style or this artistic choice enough in board games, but the dark sort of background and sort of gloomy atmosphere, and then those bright pops of colors that you see on those planets.
Yep.
Oh, I love that with
Good
the black
stuff.
backgrounds and then the super neon colors. That's gorgeous. I love that.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, when we do that, Chris, I will ask your opinion of the game. Well, I'll ask you to talk a little bit about
sure.
the game when we do that.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. I've played it once. I've just played it once at 2 players. I think it'll work better at more players. I think because of like the drafting elements of it, and there's some like fighting for stuff that I don't think was. I've only played it the one time, so I'm still forming my opinions on it for sure. Yeah,
awesome. Thank you. So
I've been playing. I took a bunch of Arcane Wonders stuff back from PAX, and so I've been like playing through it. So I finally played Furnace.
How'd you like it?
It's great. Oh man, it's so good.
So good.
Yeah, and like it's also like they have an expansion for it that's out that seems like so supremely easy to integrate that you could teach it without anybody knowing that there's an expansion in it.
That's hard to do, but really cool quality of an expansion where you can seamlessly integrate it into the base game.
It's and that one I also got. I have a playmat for, and I was like, oh, this is so much easy to set up. I see there's six cards now for us two-player game. I played that one at a 2-player, but I still I found it very exciting to see how a 2-player auction game works. And actually does work at the 2-player.
Absolutely.
Reading through, I was like, this isn't going to work. But it does.
And with the expansion, Chris, they actually make the 2-player experience even better. Like they sort of have like an AI that they introduce, so it's not just roll a die and block a spot.
Right.
It's literally
because it can have they pursue their own objectives. Because I've only played the base so far. I haven't played with the expansion. I've just now integrated it. Like I wanted to play one base first, to see the experience, and then the next plays will be with the expansion. But they have these little cards that are like, okay, now the AI does this. They're pursuing this goal. They're pursuing this type of card strategy, which I think is really cool. I think that's a really neat addition to it. Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's such a great game, and the expansion does make it better. I think, and I think I was talking to Richard, and he was saying, or I heard him talking about one of his videos where he loved Furnace, but with the expansion, it actually knocked it into it bumped it up to I think either Game of the Year or top 2 or 3 games of the year back in 2021 or whenever it was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's right above my head right now.
Oh, nice.
I'm usually kind of anti-expansion because I do so much teaching of games a lot. I'm like the designated teacher. I spend a lot of time, just because of the circles that I exist in, I spend a lot of time introducing people to board games and playing, baby's first board game with people. I spend a lot of time doing that. And I'm like, I'm never going to they're going to play this once. They might not even like it. I'm never going to get this expansion into it. But there are a couple of games where the expansions seamlessly fit in enough where I can actually play them as much as I want to. Because normally you have to keep expansions out of a first time teach, and that is usually enough for me to just never buy them because it's not going to get to the table often enough. So I've actually never played the Furnace expansion, so that's really cool to hear. I'll have to check it out.
You'll
super easy to implement. You just have one extra chip to bid on things with. So it's it's a variable strength. You basically pay coal for the amount that it'll be. So you could have a 9 strength chip if you wanted to by just paying 9 coal and just make sure to really win a thing that you want. There's 2 extra little cards that you can activate, and they give you sort of not one time, but they give you abilities that you can add to another card. So there's tiles, and then anytime you activate that card, it now has a bonus on it. You just so that feels again very
cool,
right? Just
absolutely
things on the side. Yeah. We've got in the chat Goblin saying got the big box for Pursuit of Happiness recently.
Ooh.
Expansions is the stuff that isn't noticed, like pets, friends, and kids. Yeah, all of those things aren't noticed in life as well. Pets, friends, and kids, we don't ever look at them. We don't notice them. We don't care. They're not instrumental to your happiness, I think is what Goblin's trying to say. But that's what it seems like. But it's that idea of not noticing. Seamless expansion integration, I think, is great.
Yep,
that's awesome. That's so cool to hear. But I feel like we had a really chaotic start to this stream. We had a lot of people all in here all at once. But talked about games you've been playing recently and we missed it, please comment it again. I feel like people answered this question. Then I talked about Bamboo, and then we got on PAX-U. So let's circle back around. If you've been playing games recently, I'd love to know which ones you're playing. And also, kind of secondary question, what games are you getting for presents for for family members? What have you bought a gift that you're really excited to give that's under the tree and no one knows about yet? I'd love to know, because I'm deep in the throes right now at the op of doing our big holiday campaign and stuff. And I do feel that party games make really good presents to bring home to folks, but I'd love to know what other people are getting.
Well, what's the best present people can get from the op, Ray?
Oh,
what's your number one?
I love Blank Slate. That's my go-to. It accommodates such a wide variety of ages and also player counts. It's super, super easy. Speaking of Blank Slate, we just wrapped up a giveaway for that yesterday, but we're doing giveaways for all of our party line over on our socials on TikTok and Instagram. I'm doing a little holiday giveaway video every day, and I'm proud of it because they're interactive. So you'll kind of play the game with me and then put your answers in the comments on Blank Slate. I drew some Blank Slate cards and had people give me their answers. And if we happen to match, you would get an entry. So if you want to do a little interactive party game giveaway stuff, go head over to the Op socials. But that's
that sounds great. You can win yourself a free game.
There you go.
You can win yourself a free game. Yeah, and truly, like, Blank Slate has been my go-to holiday gift forever, just because it so seamlessly integrates into pretty much any family dynamic, as long as you baseline like each other. Any sort of age combination and stuff can vibe with Blank Slate. Currently testing BJ adaptation for Forever Home. Ooh, I have not heard of that.
Okay.
Rising Blob. What's Blob Party? I like the
Blob
sound
Party's
of it.
been Blob Party's been taking the world by storm. Actually, I know it's like a big sort of party game. Danny Standring and Grant Lyon have been really enjoying it. I know Grant played it with some people at WSBG. That's how I know of it. It's this.
Was it in the World Series of board gaming?
Blob Party is in, baby. It was like a play a game with Grant style thing, right?
Okay, all right. Because right now I'm looking at the BGG page and I'm seeing cooperative party game. I was like, that's not the World Series of board gaming that I know.
Imaginary gives a good description. It's green team wins plus Play-Doh.
I see.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, a couple people are making that green team wins comparison.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, everyone's heard of this game but me. Fake gamer.
I haven't either.
All right, you got my
fake gamer. You're
gamer
out
card
of here.
revoked.
You're out of the stream.
Never heard of Blob Party.
We're seeing some Return to Dark Tower, some Castle Panic,
Nice.
some Koro Rise of an Empire, and Flip Town. Oh, that's nice, Imaginary. I thought Flip Town looked pretty cool when it was on Kickstarter. It's like just takes a deck of cards, but it's roll and write style in the old West. And you're creating. There's like three. You flip up cards, and there's three different places where you can put them in. You put like the name and the number and whatever. What else we got?
Religion says played Mantis for the first time would be a good family party game. I love Mantis. I think, for my money, folks, it's the best, like, mainstream game that you can get, like, at Target or Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Little push your luck, little set collection, very quick, maybe 10 minutes or so. Super easy to explain. Highly recommend. And, hey, if you look over on my channel, you might see a video or two where Michelle and I play Mantis.
Nice.
Ooh. I was very confused at first by your description because I was getting Mantis confused with Mantis Falls. Very different board game.
Yeah.
I was like, have I been playing that very wrong?
Yeah, totally different game. This is the Mantis of the game from Matthew Inman. He did the artwork for the oatmeal. Hilarious stuff. Hey, look! I just dropped the link in chat, folks. Go check that out.
Nice.
Hama says that's not a hat. I ordered That's Not a Hat for Brother for Christmas and myself. It's a good game. I played that for the first time at PAX.
So good.
Yeah,
it's so
really
good.
fun.
It is one of those games where I love games that take you by surprise, where you hear that.
Yeah.
I especially love when you go, that's not a game, and then it is.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be bad, favorite. But it was really good.
Where you hear something. That happened to me also at PAX when I was introduced to a game called, I don't know how to pronounce it, Dro Polter, where I heard the description of it. And I was like, that's literally not a game. That doesn't make any sense. And then I played it and it might be my game of the year. Like, actually, no joke.
Wow. Okay.
I loved it so much. I just love weird mechanics like that where you hear the description and you go, there's no way that works. There's no way that that's fun.
Yep.
And then it is.
Yeah. Totally.
Tony says I'm so bad at That's Not a Hat. That's not surprising.
No, I literally just got a copy of That's Not a Hat in the mail a couple of days ago. What is, I mean, I've heard great things about it, but I have no idea. What's the game? Can you give me like the elevator pitch?
Sure. Chris, we're all like ready.
You go ahead, Ray, if you got it. If you don't want to, I got it.
I'll let you'll probably do a better job. Go ahead for it.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say. It's basically Cockroach Poker meets memory. And so what will happen,
fantastic one-line description.
Yes.
Is everybody will have a card and it'll have a symbol on it. It might be a hat, let's say. And then you'll pass it to someone. Everyone will look at each other's card. We have one card. You'll flip it over. And on the back of your card, there'll be an arrow. And that shows which way that card is going to rotate around the circle. And then so somebody will start by drawing a new card. And they'll have two cards. And they'll have to pass their original card to someone and say, this is a banana. This is a sailboat. So the cards will get passed around really quickly, and it's this sort of shell game shuffle that's going around, and you get to points where people pass you something and go, well, this This is
that's
a hat.
That's my
hat.
favorite part.
Nice.
And then you go, is it? Is it? Sometimes you know, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes their confidence just be like, nah, it's a banana. You're like, okay, it's a banana. And then the banana's across the other. And then somebody else on the next turn will pass you a banana from the other, will be like, no, this is a banana. And you're like, what? What was? And then you're going to have to pass that to somebody and say what it is. You're like, okay, so that's not the banana. This is the trampoline. And then people will call you out on it and like flip it up. And you gotta make the correct call, right? You gotta see if someone's telling the truth or not.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
it's like instead of cockroach poker where you're just being like you're bullying each other and you're being really aggressive, everyone's just really confused. Everyone's just trying their best. Like it's like the softer version of cockroach poker. And belligerent has a really great description. A little bit of telephone mixed in because it's being passed around. And if you you get it wrong the very first time, as long as everyone believes that that's what you said and that's what the card is, it like kind of doesn't matter. So that's a really great way to describe it.
Awesome.
No, I was so surprised because the description of it is literally remember a card. Like that's what you have to do. And I heard that I was like, there's no way that is as fun as it sounds. But it is the humor really comes in that this is hat.
I was playing it, and then eventually we just started shouting out all the wrong like answers to people. Like, no, that's a cake over there. That's a cake. And they're like, no, cake's here. I'm like, no, I got the cake over here.
I love it.
And just like trolling everybody around the table.
That is great.
Very good.
My one complaint is that it's hard to play multiple games of it back to back because you'll start to remember the items from the past game that aren't even on the table, but they'll weasel their way into your brain. It's so great. It's so great.
I'm looking for
that. Tony literally just said that.
Right? Yeah.
It's worse when you play multiple rounds and people start saying things from the previous game. Yeah, it's one of those things where it kind of has to be, at least for me, the way I play it, like a filler game. In between other games, you can bookend a game night with some rounds of That's Not a Hat.
Nice.
I just love it.
No, see, I like that extra level because you're like, this is a bicycle. You're like, that's last round. And you're like, oh, God. It adds to that sort of mental panic of like, what is going on here? Yeah.
Oh, that's
see, it all come full circle back to Blood on the Clock Tower, just like gaslighting each other.
Yeah. Here on the R&R&R Show, the 4 R's stand for gaslighting. Gaslighting starts with R. I don't know what you've been thinking your whole life, but it starts with R. And if you think anything else, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Meeples and Mocktails, thank you for the correction. Mantis isn't designed by the Exploding Kitten designer, but Ken Gruel, known for Cahoots and Happy 7. Yes. The artwork is from the Oatmeal, but the designer, yes, is Ken Gruel. I love Happy 7. I'm so glad you brought that out. It's one of my all-time favorite games. It's one of the few games, I kid you not, on BGG that I ranked a perfect 10. I think Happy 7 is it. It is an awesome game.
Yeah. Funagain says it stands for Ray is gaslighting you. Yeah.
Yo, what's up, Trombone? Welcome on in. So I don't know how to say your name. Bod Hillbelly? So Zenomi is a great end of night game too. Yes, I like to fancy myself as a connoisseur of like end of the night games. That's like when people say what's your favorite type of game, I kind of feel like I should start saying that because that's where I feel like all of my favorite game night memories come from. It's after you've played like your crunchy, your strategy game, and then it's like, all right, we want to do one more game. What's it going to be? It's always something stupid. Like That's Not a Hat that just ends up being what people remember from that game night. So that's another kind of question for chat. What's your go-to end of the night game when you've had a couple friends over? What's that small box game you pull out when it's like, we got 15 more minutes, what are we playing?
Well,
to Diplomat says exactly what I was going to say, Ray. Your favorite game night is the end when everyone goes home. That's what you're trying to tell us. You're like, my favorite part of game night is when it's over.
When all these people leave my home.
All these people get out of my house. To be fair, I am always the host of game night, so there does come a point where I'm like, get out of my house.
One game that I'm looking forward to, and I tweeted this out to you, Ray, the other day, but I got my copy.
Yes,
Yum
Ruel,
Island.
that made my day.
Yeah.
I was so happy. Oh man,
amazing.
If you missed our last episode of the R&R&R Show, I talked about Yum Yum Island as my number one favorite food themed game. It's nonsense, and I'm so happy that you own it, and I feel like Charlotte and I should get commissions at this point with how much we talk about this game that no one's ever heard of.
I'm super excited to get to the table. I will definitely be bringing it to my family's Christmas gathering this year.
Good.
Cannot wait.
All right, so I don't know how to say your name. Bod Hillbelly? Hillbilly? So Zenomi is a great end of night game too. Yes, I like to fancy myself as a connoisseur of like end of the night games. That's my favorite type of game. I think Ooh, Bing Sushi Go Party is a great answer.
Oh yeah,
for end of the night game. That's
Always
a fantastic one.
Yep.
Oh my God, Foglight. I was so sad. I saw Foglight at PAX U, and if you missed last episode, I was talking about how Yum Yum Island sort of has this meme-like status in my friend group where it just becomes like the game we play at conventions. It's just perfect. Saturday night, everyone's a little bit loopy. You bring out Yum Yum Island at a con. It's perfect. The problem is that we don't coordinate who's bringing it. So no one brought it to PAX. I didn't have it. Charlotte didn't have it. Jamey didn't have it. So we couldn't play Yum Yum Island. And I feel like we need to instigate like a sisterhood of the traveling Yum Yum Island where every time it's someone's job to bring this game. Because I was genuinely so devastated when I bumped into Charlotte. And she's like, I didn't bring it. I thought you were bringing it. And then we didn't get to Yum Yum at PAX. So that was my greatest disappointment of PAX Unplugged this year.
No Yum.
I would watch the threequel Sisterhood of the Traveling Yum Yum Island. I think that one's going to be really bring the trilogy home. The Sisterhood of the Traveling series.
Yeah. Trombone says this show will have so many R's in the name, y'all will just turn into pirates. Yeah, that is our goal, Trombone. It's just we should start wearing eye patches. The first
we're gonna rebrand. Yeah, we're rebranding.
Yep.
The Pirate Show. And not tell anybody why. They're like, they don't talk about pirates. Specifically, never talk about any pirate game. Like, never mention Dead Reckoning, never mention Default, anything. You can't do it.
Yeah. Hexstar Dragon, thank you so much for
those are good answers. Cat Lady, King Domino, and Phantom Inc. All bangers.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very good choices.
Yeah, for sure.
And Scout as well, Polo Monkey. Oh, also hi, Polo Monkey. It was really good to see you at PAX as well. Scout is a fantastic answer.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my brain... too eepy for Scout at the end of the night though. That game too hard.
Yeah, totally.
when it's the end, like when I'm saying end of the night game, I mean that's not a hat.
Right.
That's my level of mental ability at that point.
Agreed.
Well, you saying game too hard? That's somebody was saying poetry for Neanderthals was in there too.
Yeah.
Maybe you're playing that one.
God, that's such a good game, though.
Have y'all played what was it? There's something about librarians, like the shouting librarians or something like that. Have y'all played that one?
Oh, that's a new from Exploding Kittens.
Loud librarians or something. I haven't played it.
Really loud librarians.
I haven't played it yet, but man, their lineup has been so good lately that I just assume it's good. Yep. I haven't played it though.
Agreed.
A friend of mine sent a picture of it to me recently and was like, "This game? Any good?" I was like, "I've never heard of this game until right now."
Really?
But like, here's all this detail for you. And they're like, "Thank you."
God. Can we talk real quick? Can we have a little support group moment for being the designated friend who people go to ask, is this game good? There's too much pressure involved in being the arbiter in your group of like, game good? Be like, I don't sweating profuse like you don't like it. I don't like it because of the production value and like, listen, I'm gonna tell you I'm gonna ruin this game for you. Yeah. It's too much pressure.
Yeah.
Because my friend group is a lot of people who are new to games, kind of only play games when they come over to my house, and I will be always the go-to person who they're like, game good? You like this? I saw this at Target, is it any good? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Whenever I get asked questions like that, it always leads to me asking like 10 more questions. Well, what's the situation? How many players?
100%.
Who's come in? Has anyone ever played games before? Blah, blah, blah. So it's always like this laundry list. Okay, now I can narrow it down to what if it's going to be good.
It's like, I need to know everything about you and your preferences and what your goals are with this game right now. And maybe I can tell you to get that copy of Fireball Island for $15 in that bargain store.
Right.
Oh, God. I found out one of my mom's friends, because my mom's a big board gamer and she's been slowly getting all of her like friends into board gaming.
Nice.
And I found out that one of her friends bought Fox Experiment for $215.
What?
No.
Mm-hmm.
What?
It was on Amazon for that price or something. And she was like, she's like, I saw it for more expensive. Is it a better game at this price? And my mom was like, no, don't do that.
No. Oh my God.
But it was too late. It was too late. Yeah.
Wow.
So yikes.
So
that's one of those instances where I'm like, I wish you had checked with someone before you bought this, because anyone who knows this hobby would have said, game probably good, game too expensive, but find it somewhere else. Yeah. That's not good. Don't do that.
Gosh, wow.
So it was like the deluxe edition, but I think that's like twice what that went for on Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, for sure. It would have gone for like 100 tops.
Yeah. Major yikes. Yeah. It's
wow.
Yeah. So now she's trying to sell it to me. She's like, would your daughter want it? And my mom's like, not for an extra $100. She wouldn't. Right? No.
Board Game Geek TV is rated the channel. Thank you, Board Game Geek TV. Good to see everyone. There's all the
welcome.
Dropping the bombs. Let us know what you've been up to. BGG TV, you're watching the R&R&R Show. Today, episode 79.
That's it, baby.
Yeah.
The 4 R's.
More R's, the better.
And if you're just joining from that raid, tell me your favorite small box game to bring out at the end of the night. That's what we're chatting about right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hi, Slivers. Hello.
Slivers in the house.
And friends.
Yes.
Trombone Dogs as a coworker was like, oh, PAX U is a board game thing, right? What are some good games? And I panicked and asked so many follow-up questions. Well, you have to.
Right?
You have to.
You can't just recommend some. That's irresponsible to just be willy-nilly recommending games to just anybody. You got to know their preferences.
Totally.
You got to know their playgroup size. You got to know their attention span potential.
Right?
Because you got one shot. You got one shot in a lot of these instances.
Hobby forever.
Yeah, you got one shot to really get them in, to strap them down and peel their eyes open and play that video that'll hypnotize them for 24 hours. You got one shot to do it.
Oh my gosh. Very nice reference to Clockwork Orange, Chris. If I believe that's what you're referencing, I hope. Wow. Very nice. Linnea says so true. It's
just
so
recommend games you hate. Oh no.
No,
I take a lot of responsibility in being like the person people go to, but then I get very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's the Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. We cannot abuse that as ambassadors to the board gaming hobby. We can't abuse this.
That's right.
Everything is so important when there's a recommendation. I'm getting stressed just thinking about it. I'm thinking about a hypothetical recommendation coming down the line, and I'm like, oh, do I have my picks lined up? Are they good enough? Oh man, it's stressful.
I like this.
What's up, Bus Air? Welcome on in.
Hi, friends. I like what Linnea said here. There's a freedom, though, when your main group of non-gamers realizes not to buy you games. Because for a few years, it was like, oh, Linnea likes games, let's buy her one. And I'm stuck with some game I probably already have or didn't want. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Like, my whole family knows now, do not buy Ruel games. There's just no point at this point.
There's no point.
You know.
Yeah, coming up for Christmas, that comment of Christmas, I know this Christmas I'm not going to get any games. And one aspect that makes me sad, because like it's the greatest joy. But in the other aspect, I'm like, oh yeah, I have all these things that I have to review.
Right.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you for not adding another thing to the list.
Right.
And then in another thing, I just got an email from Miniature Market being like, your order's shipping. And I was like, which one? I'm like, oh, Revive and Footprints are on their way? I guess so.
It's kind of like a Christmas, it's kind of like gifting game, like gifting stuff to yourself, especially when you buy so many games and you just have no memory of what it's going to be. It's like, oh, it's a surprise to me. I totally forgot I ordered this. Yeah. I completely forgot that I backed Fox Experiment until it showed up on my door. And I was like, oh yeah. Oh, thank you, Pastor.
And until you got the bill for $350 and realized it was a real steal of a deal.
Poor thing.
Seattle just got 32 pounds of Marvel Zombies in the mail. I love when you can measure your games.
Oh my, Sea Otter.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I got to meet Sea Otter at PAX Unplugged. Very nice meeting you, friend. I'm so glad we got to play games. 32 pounds is a lot. That's a ton of games.
That's a child.
Yeah. Seriously.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I will say though,
it's more than a child.
I felt pretty bamboozled recently. I got my copy of Septima finally. I'm very late. There's a story as to why I got my copy so late. I got my copy of Septima. I don't know if I missed this or if it was clear on the Kickstarter page somewhere how massive that game is. It's huge. Yeah.
The deluxe version?
I did not know. It was like 8 inches, like depth wise. That's insane. Wow. The largest game I own, because I live in a small apartment. I don't have that. I try to be very careful about just not buying physically large games. The biggest game I own space wise is Nemesis. And this is substantially larger than Nemesis, and I was not expecting that. So I gotta figure out what to do about that.
Yeah, that was surprising to see. I think just because of the game tray organization and that sort of stuff. I managed to talk myself out of doing the deluxe. I'm probably going to get it at retail just because I was like, I don't need these extra fun little wooden beautiful tokens. Oh God, I miss you so much.
So nice.
That's actually an interesting thing. Like, what would I think a fun list to do would be your favorite, like what you think the best games are on a pound for pound basis, right?
Please let me make a game show about that where it's about guessing the weight.
Oh yeah, guess the weight.
Oh, the weight. Yeah,
we should do
like
that.
a Price is Right type thing. Please let me do that.
Gosh,
that'd be so fun.
Amazing.
I have so many like board game show ideas I want to do. I want to do that. I want to do some sort of game show where you have to like order them in terms of like relative to each other on when they came out. I think there's so many fun little board game show ideas you could do.
I totally like the whole like Price is Right thing, Ray. Like I'm just thinking all the different games they have on Price is Right, and just replace them all with board games, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so
Plinko,
fun.
you just throw a bunch of board game boxes down a mountain.
Just a big thing,
Right? Expansion boxes that you've already put the stuff in. Come on, I'm not a monster.
Speaking of Plinko, have you played that game Oh No Volcano? It's
No.
Yeah, Oh No. It's a game by
I feel like that name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
but I've never
it was out at Gen Con this year. It's from Buffalo Games. The designer is Phil Walker Harding, praise be. It's wonderful. It's basically Fireball Island meets Plinko, and you're just dropping little fireballs down and trying to knock off the climbers. It's fantastic. It's so good.
Sounds like yes, Fireball.
Oh yes, Fireball Island. It's been replaced by Oh No Volcano. But yeah, wonderful game.
Is it like dexterity, almost like the way you're like?
Yeah.
Is that the game is literally just dropping it down?
Yeah. So you have some hand management. So you're trying to climb up to certain spots to get the gems, and then as you put your climber up, the next part of the game, like you do your climber, then the next part is randomly drop a fireball depending on where the card tells you, and then if it hits your climber, you fall off. You have to start at the bottom again, but you do get a little makeup with some bonus cards. It's like a 20-minute game. It's so much fun. I love it. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
Andrew Scott's asking, is there some sort of special guest coming on today? There is. We're just hanging out here extending because instead of the normal 10, 12, 15 games we're only talking about 5 games today, folks. So that's why we started a little later. We're talking about our top 5 Stonemaier games, and we have a special guest coming on. We're super excited, folks. And I think Richard's already talked about who it was. I've already blabbed about who it is. So
yeah, it's Jamey.
Yeah, it's Jamey Stonemaier. He's going to join us. So
I talked about it. I was like, "Oh yeah, come join our show." Speaking of which, we probably should get the list started soonish.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
For when Jamey comes and joins us.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Oh boy. Let's do that like right now.
Yeah.
We were having so much fun with the chat.
Me
this is
too.
great.
Totally.
I don't want to leave chat. I get so much. That's the hardest thing for me about being on the show is we're gonna have to say goodbye to chat soon, and I get separation.
That's always tough.
I still read it, and I just take them. I just say it as if I came up with their funny ideas. That's what I do.
But I do just quick want to say before we say goodbye to them, I really appreciate everyone showing up today. Again, I see a lot of familiar faces in chat, and truly it means so much to me. I miss talking about board games on stream. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing up and talking to me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to like be a part of this going forward. So,
yeah, we love having you on. I wanted to say that
because this means a lot to me to be here. So I want to make sure I properly thank everyone who's come out to support me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Why don't we do a battle royale?
The R's are going to send chat to a farm upstate.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody. Battle royale, duke it out.
Pieces.
And, one of you is going to get extra points to customize your avatars. And here we go.
And whoever wins also has my heart as well. Yeah. There's a lot of little people. Yeah. Well, and caveat.
Oh, your mic got real weird.
Your mic's going on.
You are underwater. You're fine.
There we go.
Yeah. It sounded like sometimes.
It was somebody ripping my heart out from my chest, and I had to deal with it.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. I just saw Andrew Scott
rigged.
I know. Andrew Scott just got murdered again, so I'm very happy about that. I always love to see it.
Yeah, Jamey.
Jamey Wood. Congrats.
Let's go.
Jamey Wood.
All right, so we've got that. I just pressed a button. Can y'all still hear me?
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay.
But you're probably not asking us.
No, I was asking you. I was asking anyone.
I
I pressed this button. Okay, well, it looks like it's working. Okay.
That's a stance I like to take.
Yeah.
All questions, mine.
Unique one.
Yeah.
Even when I ask, unique one for a
man.
For a white male. I'm a Coda Lebanese.
Okay, so there's that. We're gonna say goodbye, but not so long. We're gonna say goodbye to the avatars right now. So we can do this YouTube thing, and I'm gonna check our scene here. There's me. Let me get the keyboard out of the way.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited to do this top 5, and then we're gonna stick around to chat because then we'll have sort of a Q&A with Jamey as well afterwards, and we're just gonna chat about like design process and like the industry. And so if you have any questions, you can ask them then as well, and so you can think of some questions to ask, and we'll just have a little chat after we finish the list for the end of the show, and that's what it'll be.
Awesome, cool. So we will kick it off with Richard's recorded an intro talking about our sponsor. We'll go to this scene right here. And then, Chris, if you would like to talk about, I'm going to show this scene
Planetfall?
here.
I can give a rundown on how it plays.
Yeah. I think actually in the Richard's intro, he talks about the game. So great. If you could just talk about, hey, the playmat, because that's what we're showcasing here.
Great. Playmat. So that sounds great. Yeah,
cool.
Happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And... yeah, I think we're good to go. Ray, how you feeling? Good?
I'm feeling good.
Okay. And excited. Chris, we're good?
Let's do it.
I'm feeling fantastic.
All right. Cool. Let's get going.
We don't one-up me. All right.
Yeah, there you go. Setting the tone. I'm setting the tone.
All right.
I'm number 5 on the list, and I feel inferior.
It's compensating, yeah.
Oh,
I'm compensating for something.
Let me make sure this comes out.
Let's go.
Let's see. So I have this screen here. Where's the overhead?
Maybe one of these days I'll get to be number 4 or even number 3.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Yeah. But that's just because I'm a wedding crasher. So.
Okay. See, I need to copy over some stuff right now. I'm glad we tested that. Copy and paste into this scene here. Y'all get to see the making of sausage whenever we do this here. So
can we get some hype emotes in chat for Ruel? Running the back end on a stream like this goes hard. It's super difficult. I know. I used to do it a lot, and it's a lot of work. I just get to show up now and just talk about games.
Isn't it great?
I have the easiest job in the world. So everybody. Tell Ruel how much you love him because he's doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
What other great games can we talk about while we get set up here? I also was playing Neotopia from Arcane Wonders as well, and I thought that was kind of fun. Yeah, it was more strategic than I expected it to be. You have all these different colors. And you have 3 different areas where you can put them in. And so you can put them in any of the 3 areas, and you're trying to make patterns on cards to score points. But then it's basically Knizia scoring, where you score the most points for the place where you have the least amount. But they have you multiply it by 3. So it feels like your other things have added to it, but it doesn't really. You know?
What's it called? Tell me the name of the game again.
Neotopia.
Neotopia. I am a visual person. I want to see it while you're describing it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, look at all that hype in the chat.
Yeah.
Chat, y'all are amazing.
Thank you, chat.
Look at that. I feel the love. I feel the love. I see the bobbing heads.
Well, too bad it's not for you. It's for Ruel. Don't stop.
Again, I'm assuming it's for
about
me.
You, Chris.
I'm fairly certain all of those emotes are only for me. And I'd like to thank you, chat, personally for putting all of them just for me. The star. Yeah, you know what my R stands for? It doesn't stand for Ruined Board. It stands for star of the show. It's canon. It's canon. I've said it on stream. It's locked in.
Okay. So
Dr. Prof says this is for Chris. One single heart, baby.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Prof. Goblin says, "Woo Ruel, boo Chris," because they're so scared of how much they like me. So that's good. We're pretty good there. Bloody Lion gives me a very angry owl, angry again at how much they appreciate me being here.
I gotta say, I'm looking at pictures of Neotopia now. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful
Look at that.
It's satisfying.
Okay,
I want to eat those pieces, those little discs. I want to put them in my mouth.
Yeah,
they look
100%.
very edible, and that is a major plus in my book.
Okay.
AG Fox says we're all here for Chris bashing. We're all here for the Chris bashing that Richard often does. Yeah, I'm here for that too. Let's get this show on the road, Roel?
Yeah, let's do this. Okay. We're ready. Let's get this intro. And folks, thanks again for sticking around. Once again, if there's a raid or anything like that, just let folks know that we were doing this for YouTube, and we will get to questions and stuff in the last half of the show. probably about 30 minutes in or so after we have Jamey join us. But first, we're going to talk about some Stonemaier games, and let's go to Richard.
Hey everybody, this week's episode of the R&R&R Show is brought to you by Arcane Wonders and their new game, Age of Wonders Planetfall, which is a very cool, fast-playing card drafting engine building game where every round we're coming to a new planet that we are trying to conquer by grabbing cards. And the tricky thing is, on each planet, each player is only going to get to grab 2 cards. And it's always going to be a tough choice of to what to sacrifice and what to focus on because of big in-game objectives that everybody can be chasing after throughout the game. The other tricky thing is, depending on which card you grab, that could put you earlier or later in turn order for subsequent rounds. And that can add an extra level of complexity to the decision making as well. Now, this is a pretty smooth, fast-playing game. It's almost a Gateway Plus, and based on a very popular video game franchise. And if you'd like to know more about it, Shay has done a run-through. There's going to be a link for that down below, and also a link to the publisher's page if you'd like to know more about this month's sponsor, Age of Wonders Planetfall. And now, let's get on with the show.
And hello, friends. I was hitting my mic button and it wasn't coming on, but it is on now. Thank you, friends, so much for joining us. It's the R&R&R Show. My name is Ruel Gaviola, joined, as always, by Chris and Ray, who is hanging out with us today. How's it going, friends?
Very good, Ruel. I'm very happy to be back and super excited to talk about Stonemaier. It's one of my consistently favorite publishers. They have some of my favorite games. So I am very, very excited about our list today.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be a fun list, and it's also, I love that this episode is sponsored by not Stonemaier but Arcane Wonders.
Yeah,
and that Arcane, it's just like such a wonderful representation of like publishers supporting publishers. I feel like the board gaming hobby is such like a lovely community, and you see that from like a publisher standpoint as well. I've always had really great interactions from a consumer standpoint with Arcane Wonders. I feel like I tell my customers my great customer service story about them all the time, where they just like went above and beyond when they had Sheriff and some of my stuff wasn't working. It felt so good. And so it's just like another example of like, it's really cool that like publishers are just like, yeah, that's fine. Top 5 Stonemaier games. It's cool. Arcane Wonders. we like to build people up. So I just think that's like really cool and like a wonderful thing that you probably wouldn't see in a lot of other sort of industries as well.
Right. And Richard in the intro was talking about Planetfall, Age of Wonders Planetfall, and I want to show this off. It's on my table right now, folks. Now, I have not played the game yet, but I have it all set up on this wonderful playmat. And I really wanted to, I love, before we came on here, we do a pre-show, folks, and you can click on the show notes below to check out all the chit-chat that we do. Ray had mentioned the artwork in this, and this is, I mean, it's beautiful. Yes. I love this, and it's right there embedded into the playmat itself.
Yeah, no, I love this style. Style is not the right word, but I love the artistic choice to have a really dark background and then those pops of super bright colors. I don't know if it's just me. It makes me nostalgic for like Wise and otherwise, like that color scheme you don't see very often. And I love it. It's so distinctive and so unique, and you don't see it very often. It has a really beautiful table presence. And then, of course, in addition, that beautiful playmat that kind of draws it all together is totally stunning.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I was saying before that you saw in Shay's little run through that Shay had just like a little piece of cardboard, and you extend the cards out from that. Yep. And I'm really not a playmat person, but I saw this at PAX on the playmat, and I was like, oh yeah, it's also beautifully organized. Everything has its like little spot. Yep. And then when I was pulling out my own card, I was like, oh, but where's all the little spots for it? Where's all the nice little spots?
How do I know?
Right. It's one of those things where, like, when you're creating that sort of static tableau, it actually does feel really nice and sort of helps with the setup as well, which I appreciate. I appreciate playmats that like help to the functionality of the game and aren't just like a playmat for playmat's sake. Because I like. If that way I can justify it a little bit more. I'm like, okay, no, it actually sort of increases the functionality. It makes it easier to like lay things out and be organized for everybody looking at it. Furnace's playmat is very, very similar to that functionality aspect as well. Also by Arcane Wonders.
Another Arcane Wonders game,
yes. It's like one of the few deluxified bits that actually I can justify as well. I'm never a deluxifier normally, but playmats are so nice. It just helps with accessibility of getting it to the table. It's fewer things you'd have to like look up and double check. understand.
Yeah.
It can also be really helpful for new players who are visual to see where things are supposed to go and how they stack up and stuff. Super helpful.
Exactly. And I'm a sucker too for a good playmat. So again, thanks to our sponsor, Arcane Wonders. But now let's talk about some Stonemaier games. We're talking about our top 5, folks.
Let's do it.
Like Ray, Stonemaier is one of my favorite companies. I seem like I always enjoy their games. But we're going to talk. We've narrowed it down to our top 5. It was a pretty tough call here, but why don't we get to it? Who's got our number 5? Is that you?
I think it's me.
Chris,
I don't know
what you got for our number 5, my friend?
I think it's me. And if something else pops up, I'm just going to take credit for it, as I like to do. And somebody else can roll with it on the fly for my pick.
Yes.
My number 5, though, I feel like very excited to get this number 5 pick because I feel like I get to pick sort of a little bit of an outlier. You know what I mean? I feel like there's the hits I expect to see, but this one, I was really torn between a lot of them to put it into this pick. But my pick is Rolling Realms.
Nice.
Rolling Realms by Stonemaier, which was like a pandemic game. It was really a pandemic game. It has evolved into this like really cool thing. There you get 3 realms. And they'll be shuffled up. They'll be different each game. The combinations will be different. And then on your turn, you roll 2 dice and you take those numbers and you can put them into some of the realms, but you can only put them into 2, right? And so each of the realms has its own little mini game of things you're trying to complete to get points, but you can also get resources that you can spend to chain into another realm. And so the way they all interact with each other is really fun. Really fun, a solid roll and write, a solid price as well. Easy to play with a ton of people as long as, you know, they had the cards or whatever. And just like a really lovely addition. I love its story, too, that it started out as just like a pandemic game. We want to be able to play games while we weren't able to be around each other. And so, I like it a lot. It's a top roll and write for me. And is great, and it's not what I kind of forgot about it because I think it was not my typical Stonemaier thinking, and then I was looking through the list. I was like, oh, Rolling Realms, of course, that's my pick.
Yeah. I love this game, and you're right. I love the story behind it. As you know, started in the pandemic, and it became a real thing. And this is, folks, if you haven't seen this before, Richard and I actually played this live here on the channel, and you can go to the link in the show notes, and you can play along with us and see how you fare against the dice that we rolled. I love that the dice are like so huge and just ginormous. It's just a fun little component there. But yeah, such a wonderful roll and write.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with what Goblin said. Goblin said, good choice. Not that there are any bad choices. Truly, Stonemaier is one of those publishers where I'm like, I have not disliked any game that they've put out. So that's a great option. I feel like I kind of missed out on Rolling Realms. I didn't get into roll and writes until somewhat recently. So my great shame is I actually haven't played it. I only got into roll and writes like a little over a year ago. I was a terrible elitist for a long time of like, I'm in this hobby for collecting. What am I going to do? Collect paper? Like I was so not into roll and writes for such a long time. So it's one of the few Stonemaier games I actually haven't played. So maybe this will inspire me to go back and give it a shot.
Super good. Super easy to pick up.
Right? Yeah. If you like roll and writes, I think this is one of those games that you should have in your collection because it's so it's just so robust and so great. Yeah. So, all right. That's our number 5. And Ray, you got a number 4 for us.
I do. All right. So I want to reiterate, this was hard for me. I really like Stonemaier Games. There's so many good ones, and I wanted to say Apiary, but I haven't played enough Apiary to put it on this list. So I ultimately decided on Wingspan because it had to be on this list somewhere.
Yes.
And I love Wingspan so much. I don't think it needs an introduction. But by some chance, if you have stumbled upon this video and you were like, birds, huh? What's this game? Let me briefly explain to you.
They just found it through their bird searching. It's true.
Yeah. So Wingspan is a beautiful engine building game about collecting birds and designed by Elizabeth Hargrave. You're going to be collecting various types of birds and placing them in one of 3 habitats. You've got this tree canopy area up at the top, you've got this grassland area in the middle, and then you have water at the bottom. And you're going to be slotting these birds into these different habitats depending on those birds' real life habitats, which pin in that scientific accuracy. We'll get back to it. And then that's how you're going to be building your engine. We had been discussing the last couple of weeks about like best engine builder games and whatever. And that's a really hard mechanism to define. But Wingspan is one of the few games where I'm like, this really distills what engine building is. It's a really clean and simple engine builder. It's one of the reasons why I love it. But the way you're going to be building your engine is by placing those birds into those different habitats. And those different habitats are also going to correspond to the major actions that you can take in the game. So for example, if you want your birds to lay eggs, you're going to go to the grasslands to lay eggs. And then the fun part is when you go to do that, you also, generally speaking, activate most of the birds that you've placed in your grassland. So as you're playing birds, it increases the power of those various actions that you need to take to play the game. And I picked Wingspan as my choice for this list for two main reasons. One is just the undeniable impact that this game had on the hobby. You can say you don't like Wingspan. You're wrong. That's fine. You're allowed to be wrong, but you cannot deny the incredible impact that this game had on the industry and on this space. For kind of anecdotally, I was in college when Wingspan came out, and I was an earth science major. So I was in with all like the crunchy granola naturey kids, none of whom had ever showed any interest in a board game prior. And all of a sudden Wingspan comes out and I'm walking into the cafeteria and I literally saw 4 kids from my class sitting down playing Wingspan. And it reached corners that I feel us as a hobby and as an industry, we're struggling to reach for the longest time. And there's layers to that. So like my initial layer that I saw was like the academic people, right? People who have that sort of puzzly brain, but maybe never thought to pick up a board game. They didn't like them as a kid and then they forgot about them. Wingspan, because it is scientifically accurate, it has this nature, beautiful sciencey theme behind it. That got a lot of those folks into the game. And then if you step out another step, the theme itself is soft and beautiful. It doesn't have a gray palette. It's not about trains. It's not about war. It's not about a lot of those themes that our hobby gets stereotyped as being like, that's all it is, right? I want to be very clear to say, like, it's not that soft, beautiful themes haven't always existed, but there was some perfect storm about Wingspan where it was for many people the first game that they saw that had that kind of soft, beautiful theme. And then even one layer further than that, it was also for a lot of people the first game that they saw that had a prominent woman designer. So there are all these, it was just this multiple layers of reaching people who have grown to love this hobby, but that we were struggling to reach for a really long time. And you can't knock Wingspan for that amazing impact that it had on the hobby. And then the second reason I picked it is because I love it. I've probably played this game maybe more than any other like strategy game because I can get it to the table so easily. So many, again, as I mentioned during the pre-show, I spent a lot of time playing board gamers with like non-gamers or people who are only like got half a foot in the hobby. And Wingspan is such an easy game to get to the table. It's got gorgeous production value. I, again, come from a science background, so I really appreciate the theme. From a mechanical perspective, I love that you can kind of go all in on one specific strategy. Like, obviously, you need to balance it a little bit, but I resent games that make me do everything equally. I don't like that. Let me just lay eggs for like 3 rounds and see how many points I can get. I like that if you get the right cards, you can have these ridiculous games where you're stacking so many water birds that it's like an inch thick. I like that it gives you that opportunity. And then, of course, the 3 expansions for this game are top-notch, incredible expansions. I love all of them. There's 3, right? I think there's 3. Oceania, Asia. Okay, I'm making sure I got that number right. Yep. 3 is what I own. They're all really, really good. Amazing 2-player expansion with Asia came out. And it also has one of my favorite digital implementations of a board game ever. I'm like solidly in board games and video games as like my 2 favorite hobbies. And I love when they kiss, when they come together in a beautiful way. It's amazing on Switch. It's like my favorite airplane game ever to pass and play while you're like traveling. Yeah. I love Wingspan. It's so good. If you somehow again have stumbled upon this video, you haven't at least looked into Wingspan, you should do it for yourself as like, it's one of those pillars of this hobby, right? That just stands as this benchmark that you should at least owe it to yourself to look into and see if you'd like it.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's my long-winded rant about Wingspan. Sorry, I could talk about this game all day. I love it so much.
And rightfully so. I think it's great that you hit on the cultural impact of this game, right? I mean, we're all deep in the hobby, but we sometimes forget not everyone is, but then you see something like Wingspan when it took off. I mean, it really took off. I mean, we saw this on like the Wall Street Journal's front page, and stuff like that. And we saw Hollywood celebrities, trying to figure out the rules.
Mandy Patinkin playing Wingspan lives rent free in my head forever.
Love it.
I love that so much.
And on top of that, it's a solid game. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yep.
It deserves all that praise. Like there's some perfect storm of marketing and timing, but for whatever reason, that game took off. And again, I want to be clear, like games designed by women with like beautiful themes, like those have existed for a long time, but there's something about Wingspan, it took off. And like we are better as a hobby because that game took off and brought new people into the space. So
agreed.
And that's super cool. I love that.
Awesome.
Agreed with everything.
Yes. Okay, so that was our number 4. Let's go on to number 3. This is going to be my choice, and I struggle a little bit with my top 3, but they sometimes, depending on my mood, they would change. But honestly, this is the one that's always been my number 1 in my heart. It is a fantastic worker placement game. The theme is money, and folks, if you haven't played it, please give it a shot. It's viticulture. I love everything about this game, starting from the theme. I mean, you are sending your workers out to the vineyards and you're making wine, stomping on the grapes, I Love Lucy style, and then, filling orders and just doing all the things that a good winery would do. My bucket list item in my life, I still want to play viticulture at a winery. I'm getting close, but one of these days I will play it there. It's a wonderful worker placement game where you placing workers, doing the things, and gathering resources in order to make that wine, and you're going to draw cards to help you fill orders and whatnot. And I think the really cool thing about this, it introduced, or I don't know if it introduced, but it was like really innovative as far as that grande worker, like the big worker. So in a lot of workers placement games, you're going to get blocked out of certain spots, right? That never feels good, but back in the day, that's just the way it was. However, with the grande worker, as long as you have that worker, if you haven't placed it yet, you can go to any spot you want and take that action. I mean, it's just one little tweak like that. Really, I mean, I remember when I first played, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not blocked out. This feels great. I can still fill an order. I can still get grapes stomped or whatever. It's an awesome game. And then you introduce the expansion to it. So a lot of my gamer friends, they play heavier stuff, so they always want to play with Tuscany, the expansion of this. And I love Tuscany as well. It introduces more elements, some special type of workers, adds another spot buildings that you can build, and also adds a sort of like area control map that you can go on. I love Tuscany as well. I think if you're looking for a deeper experience, a more complex experience, that's for you. But I'm fine playing either one because I love everything about this game. What you're seeing right now on screen, that's Richard playing the original Viticulture, which has basically been replaced by Viticulture Essential Edition. It took some of the things from the other, some of the expansions, wove it into the game, and just made it a perfect experience. You starting with your starting resources and whatnot through the mama and papa cards. Folks, if you haven't played this, play it. It is an all-timer for me, and that's why it's our number 3 on our combined list of Stonemaier Games Viticulture.
I love viticulture. I might have said this if I didn't know you were going to say this, because gun to my head, I typically say viticulture is my favorite game because I love a thematic worker placement, and I also love the way this game ramps up. I love how it feels so slow at the beginning, and then before you know it, it's over. I love games that really nail unique pacing like that, and I love the theme. Viticulture is so good.
It is.
I really love. I'm not a solo player. I've only played it at Tuscany too, but I've read through the solo rules set, and I just love the idea of every turn of those 7 turns, you get the different beginning bonus of the round, right? Like that's how it manipulates the turn order and incorporates it into the solo mode, that you can only use each one of the turn order bonuses once. I think that's really, really clever and slick. And it makes me excited. I'm like, maybe I am a solo gamer now. Maybe I will.
Yes, join us, Chris.
Identity crisis.
Is that me? I think it might be.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because the solo variant in this game was created by the Automa factory, and that's how it started. Was with viticulture. Automa or I don't know if Automa or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I say
I've never known how to say it. You're a braver man than me. I would not have tried to say it out loud because I don't know how to say it either.
But yeah, it's based on, I believe, the Italian word for like solo game or whatever. It's because it started with viticulture, and it basically launched the company, the Automa or Automa factory. And you know, cool. I love solo gaming, and I've played through the solo campaign for the original, but I have not yet played Viticulture World. That is on my shelf of opportunity. I cannot wait for that. So that's cooperative version. But yeah, I'm so glad to see some love for viticulture. And Ray, I'll confess, like it really went back and forth for me, viticulture or a Wingspan. So one of us was going to end up talking about it.
We found the perfect compromise. I knew it was going to be going back and forth with the two of us, so it worked out.
Okay. Speaking of the let's go on to number 2. We've got Richard join us. This time, Richard's not doing our number 1, folks. He's got our number 2, and let's see what he's got for us.
Hey, gang. Here I am in beautiful Mexico. There's the rig behind me, charging up for the day. There's the Sea of Cortez in the other direction, although the tide is out right now, but it'll be coming in soon, and maybe we'll be getting some windsurfers later on. Anyway, oh my gosh, I love this topic because Stonemaier Games is easily one of my favorite publishers, and Jamey Stegmaier is easily one of my favorite designers. What have you talked about so far? Chris, Rolling Realms, I love it. I recently got to play the first 3 of the little mini expansions, and they were so good, I want to get all of them and just keep playing that game forever. Wingspan, of course, is, that's my number 2. In fact, folks, if you stick around to the post show, I'm going to be doing a rapid fire top 10, my personal countdown of my 10 favorite Stonemaier published games. But Wingspan is actually my personal number 2. And you know what? If I ever get a chance to play the Asia co-op mode, that might push it into my personal number 1 spot. Viticulture, well, I'm not surprised at all. And man, I have to say, I love Viticulture World. That expansion so elevates the game. It's absolutely amazing. But my personal favorite Stonemaier game, well, I'll tell you right now, it's definitely not Scythe. Actually, I've played almost every single game. Scythe is one of the ones I haven't because Jamey himself told me, do not play it. You will not like it. It is not for you. Someday I do still think I should try the Rise for Fenris expansion because it turns at co-op. Although, again, Jamey told me, don't do it. You got to play the basic game before you play. Anyway. It's neither here nor there because my personal favorite is Tapestry. Oh man, this game is so brilliant. The second best civilization game of all time, as far as I'm concerned. Some people think it's a little abstract. I do not feel that way at all. I love the way history comes together in a beautiful tapestry of super powerful tapestry cards. The game has so much replayability. There are so many cool special effects, but the engine that drives everything is so clean and pure and fast playing. Also, not for nothing, it has an amazing solo mode from Morten Monrad Peterson of the Automa Factory, like pretty much all Stonemaier games, and I've really enjoyed that over the years as well. Tapestry is just so next gen, so next level. It's Jamey's greatest design of all time, and like I said, the second best civilization game of all time as well. Although I just played Age of Civilization the other day, so Tapestry might be dropping to number 3 on that list, but it's my personal number 1 Stonemaier game. But I think the list isn't quite done yet, right?
Tapestry, folks. Excellent game. What a choice. This was on my top 5 as well. It didn't make it quite to my number 1, but I love Tapestry. Taking that, just big game and being able to do, things on just these little tracks and moving up the tracks. It's so much fun. But yeah, I enjoyed Tapestry. It was no surprise that Richard put Tapestry there. I figured as much. But yeah, I can't wait to play it again. I've actually played it solo, and it's got this really cool way where you can play with extra AIs and stuff. I always like that as well. So, Chris is a new solo player. We're going to get him to play Tapestry as well, right, Chris?
There we go. Newly minted, self-identified solo player.
I guess that's it. I am the bastion for the solo board gaming hobby from here on out.
Nice.
What can I say?
They have chosen you as their champion.
Yeah. It just happened. These things just happen to me. I don't know how it works, but it just happens.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we have our special guest waiting in the wings, Rel. If you wanna bring him in,
we're gonna.
I see him backstage on Twitch, so we're gonna bring Jamey in right now.
Yeah, we've got our top 5. We've done 4. Richard did number 2, so we've got a special guest, Jamey Stonemaier, join us right now to reveal the number 1 Stonemaier game of all time. So give us just a second. We're gonna bring him in. So I'm clapping right there. I'm clapping right there, so Richard knows where to edit. I don't know if y'all saw it. I actually sort of spoiled number 1. Did y'all see that scene?
No, you were good.
Okay.
No.
Okay, cool.
No,
Cool.
It's...
All right. Let's bring Jamey in.
I don't pay attention.
Okay. Friends in chat, what you're seeing right now, we are recording this for YouTube. Richard's going to edit some of this stuff out. We're bringing Jamey in right now. I want to thank Jamey for his patience. As we bring him in here, I'm going to press a couple of buttons and hopefully get him on seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Do a little beep boop.
Yeah.
Do a little beep boop.
And, nope, that's not
I gotta say, well, while Ruel is figuring this out, so he, doesn't feel too much pressure, I do want to say I am slowly getting to know Richard now that I'm like part of this like space, and I am very curious as to why he was warned to stay away from Scythe, why he was told he wouldn't like it. I don't know, Chris, if you have any insight into that, because I'm curious. That was a very interesting anecdote that he's never played it because he was told he wouldn't like it.
Well, I feel like Jamey will be the best person to answer that. I see us live, and Ruel's getting his picture up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
I just know Richard fights back against anything that has any conflict whatsoever, right? He doesn't like that.
That's what it is.
Head.
Got it.
And so any sort of where you can mess with somebody else, and so that's likely the reason, because there is that sort of conflict. Although I love the action efficiency of Scythe. I don't feel like it's that heavy conflict for me personally, because you can do so many other things. I prefer just getting my popularity to the top of the track, like it's just I'm just a peaceful solo loving person.
Peaceful attention seeker.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
trying to get popular.
That appears to be the character that I've now adopted, and I'm going to have to stick with.
I'm so sorry. I've shoved that onto you unceremoniously.
No, I like it. Ruel, we currently don't see Jamey still. Oh, you're working on that?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. We have Jamey backstage, folks, and what we do is bring him on the stream right now, and I'm bringing him on the stream right now. Copying this.
Yep. Thanks for your patience, chat.
Yeah, thank you, friends. Appreciate it.
Some movie magic back here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And by magic, it means Ruel panicking and sweating.
That's live streaming,
things work.
Baby.
Yeah.
That's live streaming. Well, we might be able to hear Jamey.
Yep.
Do you want to say hi to the people?
Oh, fabulous! Hello,
Jamey.
welcome.
Yes. Hi, Jamey.
Just waiting on the visual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Jamey. And I will let Ray and Chris talk to y'all while I panic and try to get things working here.
Yeah, all good.
Hey, there's Jamey.
Of course. You know what? Let's just make it all Jamey.
Let's just make
all
it all Jamey all the time, folks. Why don't we do that? Give me 1 second.
Chat is saying, Ruel, we can hear Jamey, but chat can't.
Chat can't hear Jamey. They should be able to hear Jamey now if I press this button here. Well, let me verify that. Hold on, just
yeah, no worries.
We like to have a little bit of a Wizard of Oz. We want to build the mystique and the mystery of the myth, the man, the legend of Jamey Stonemaier coming onto the stream. What are some other enigmatic movie characters? The Willy Wonka of board gaming, scattering peoples to the world.
I love it.
With a fountain of board game, a fountain of wingspan eggs. Just the walls. If you could see what's going on in Jamey's camera right now, you'd see all the magic that's happening behind. It's really
we're robbing chat of the magic.
Yeah. I can see people bringing in backdrops behind him to make it look more like an ordinary room, but he's at least exposed his secrets to us. Man, I wish you could all see this because it's magic. Those are life-size pendulum sand timers that are flipping back and forth behind Jamey's head. This is incredible. Oh, you have to see this, chat. I hope the backdrop doesn't close the moment Jamey gets on screen. That would just be horrible because you would have missed out on all of this incredible magic that's happening.
Yes.
Looks like we've got him on stream, but we're a little bit.
We're laggy choppy right now, right?
Pay no attention to the man behind the game board, B. Travis says. Yes.
And wow. Let me see if we're back live.
Yeah, the conspiracy starting that, this was an intentional crash so Jamey doesn't have to pick his top.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
This is all orchestrated.
Let's lean into it.
All part of the plan.
Yeah, all part of the plan.
Oh, it looks like we're back. Hello,
Are
friends.
we back? Okay.
Hey. It looks
we're back
like
and better than ever. Hey, we looks like we're moving and we're not frozen statues.
We're grooving.
Okay.
Everybody refresh.
Folks, refresh if you haven't already. This has been fun. We are going to get things rolling here in just a second because we're going to be revealing the number one Stonemaier game. We're going to wait for just a minute or two to make sure those people who got cut off are coming back. We had all kinds of problems here.
And can we also, Jamey, would you mind just saying something just so we can make sure we can hear you on stream?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's literally it. Just want to make sure because we can hear you. Okay. I want to make sure because earlier we could hear you, but they couldn't hear you. Chat, could you hear Jamey? They say yes. Okay.
Yes.
Fabulous. Just wanted to make sure before you said all the secrets and all right, perfect.
So what we're going to do, we're going to splice in this segment of the show. What we're doing now, we're going to talk about, hey, we just did the top 4. Jamey's here. Jamey will do a quick introduction for you. And then we'll ask you to reveal your number 1. I'll go to the other scene where your number 1 game will show up. We'll talk about that game, and then we'll do an outro with our, the outro. Say thanks for watching, and then we're gonna hang out.
We'll talk about our Arcane Wonders too, just a bit in the outro. I might ask you your favorite game of theirs, that sort of thing. But
yeah. And then, obviously, we're going to leave the outro for the final part. After we do the number 1 game with Jamey, we'll ask you a question or two, just, talk about Stonemaier and a couple other things. And then we'll do the outro and we'll finish up. So, okay. So let me take this off here.
All right, from the top, everybody. Starting from the beginning.
Okay.
My game was Big.
So we had just talked about number 2, Tapestry, from Richard, and then we'll to this scene here. So maybe I should have, Okay, cool.
Here we go. We're back. We're here with Jamey Stonemaier. Welcome to the show, Jamey, and we're excited to hear your number 1, or at least the number 1 game that you might want to play with us right now, right? I'm sure it's very hard for you to pick through all of your darlings, but we got to make a definitive list somehow and give you the honorary top number 1 spot. So thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored that you all decided to talk about Stonemaier Games today. It was a dream come true, really. Yeah.
We were all very happy to talk about them, and we grumbled a lot pre-show about how genuinely difficult it was for us all to pick one 100%. Singular game. I think I actually punched Ruel over picking Viticulture. It got violent.
Yeah, I'm
Ruel is permanently injured.
Yeah, I'm still feeling right on my chin. It was before Ray hit me, I used to have a full head of hair, so that's how hard she hit me.
Before Ray hit me.
It was quite the shock to see, right?
Yeah, it's wild.
But
truly, Stonemaier is one of my favorite publishers. Someone mentioned it in chat in the pre-stream that when Chris made his pick, they were like, good pick. Not that there is a bad one. I cannot think of a Stonemaier game that I haven't thoroughly and genuinely really, really enjoyed. So this is just a very self-indulgent list of which is my favorite of all the games that I already really enjoy. And it's such a treat and such a pleasure to have you join us for this list.
Agreed.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm really flattered and honored to hear that. We put a lot of love into our games. We have 16 so far. So for you all to even have tried enough to make a top 5 list is amazing to me. Thank you so much.
So
well, do we want to Yeah, go ahead, Ruel.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, let's get to it. So, as y'all saw in the first couple of picks here, we had Rolling Realms at number 5, Wingspan at number 4, Viticulture number 3, and Tapestry at number 2. So, Jamey, let us know, what is the number 1 Stonemaier game?
Well, this is a small preface. This is always the most difficult question for someone to answer, including me, if you do put a lot of love into your designs and your publications, and I help develop all of our games. And so my initial answer was a tie, a 16-way tie for all of our games. But we added a few constraints, like 5-player game, although most of our games do play 5 players, except for Smitten, so that didn't help all that much. But then we added the twist of what would I play with the 5 of you, or the 4 of you specifically, a 5-player game with the 4 of you. Mm-hmm. That helped out a lot, because something that I heard right when I came on, Richard is a little infamous for not having played Scythe, or as far as I know, he has not played Scythe yet. Yeah. And so I would love to sit down and play Scythe with all of you and Richard, and have a non-combat-y experience of Scythe, where we have the threat of combat, but it doesn't actually happen all that much, which is what happens in Scythe. And we can all be Care Bears together, and that would bring me a lot of joy. So I'm going to pick Scythe, and not necessarily really as my number 1 game, but my number 1 game to play at this moment with the 4 of you, especially Richard.
Nice.
Because of that reason.
Yeah, it's a great pick. And Scythe was actually my number 1 choice a couple of years ago when it first came out. But then I realized, I'm a little more into wine rather than mechs, and so I'm sticking to viticulture. But again, like we've said throughout the show, any one of these could have been a number 1, and I think this would be a really fun one to play with you, Jamey, Chris, Ray, and Richard. Even though Richard's the Care Bear of the group, I would target him first, of course. But no,
oh my God, of course.
Let's all gang up on Richard. I think we can agree, because he's not here. All of our attacks are going straight for Richard.
Totally. Chris, I know this is your type of jam right here, Chris. Any thoughts?
I'm really excited. My friend and neighbor actually I haven't played Rise of Fenris yet, and so my friend and neighbor just got his hands on Rise of Fenris, and so I'm like super stoked to be able to dive. And I've managed to avoid spoilers, which is incredible to me. Mm-hmm. That like I've managed to avoid not knowing what's going to happen in that campaign, and so I'm so excited to see Scythe go to the next level. What I really like about Scythe, and again, Scythe was in competition for my slot on this list for sure. I really love the action efficiency, right? That when I realized that it was all about that efficiency of actions. I feel like I heard you speak about the number of actions it can take to win in one of your videos or something. Like it was something along those lines of 14 to 17 or in that ballpark. And I was like, that blew my mind open. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get really good at Scythe. And just like trying to work out that puzzle and working against that sort of internal clock against what everybody else is doing, I find so fascinating. And I love the upgrading the systems. I always go for an upgrade objective just because it feels so good to complete everything. And I love the asymmetry of the boards and just exploring this landscape. I think it's so fun. I think it's a banger of a game. And everybody says that Rise of Fenris makes it even better, and that seems impossible to me. So I'm really excited to check that out personally. Yeah, Ray, what about your experiences with Scythe?
I think I fall into a similar category with you, where I enjoy just getting the popularity, and I adore Scythe. For all the crap that I gave you, I think I approached the game very similarly, and it was one of those games that for me was like the big leap into like real hobby games for me. Again, when Scythe came out, I was like around college age, and that was like all the buzz in all of our games groups of like, oh, have you gotten Scythe yet? We pooled all of our money together to buy a copy of Scythe for our board gaming group. So it's a very nostalgic title for me.
I love that, as a group getting in a game like that. As you see, friends, the video we're watching is actually Jamey's video of Scythe. And normally we do our list of games and we say bye to y'all, but we're not going to do that this time. We're going to hang out with Jamey for a few minutes here and chat with him, get to know him a little better. And the video that we just saw, Jamey, for pretty much from the get-go, once you started Stonemaier, you've been a content creator as well, not just a publisher, but a content creator, creating videos, writing. Like, I loved all the blogs that you did as far as Kickstarter and stuff. How do you balance that with being a publisher, Jamey? How do you have the time and the energy to do all that?
Well, that's a good question. I don't always balance it as well as I should. I try, because I do 2 blog entries a week, and I try to limit the time I spend on them to around 30 to 45 minutes. But it often stretches out beyond that. Like either it takes longer to write, or the comments are particularly active in that post. And then I'm talking on Facebook about the comments, and then on our blog about in the comments. And I enjoy it. I get a lot from those conversations. And so I think it ends up being worth the time. But I have to sometimes restrain myself a little bit, or constrain myself. And then with the videos, I started those, you're right, a while ago, maybe even slightly before Scythe, around maybe 2014, because I love talking about games. And I see how much fun you all have talking about games. I feel the same way. I love to talk about them, but I didn't want to review them because I didn't want to critique my peers in that same way. Even if I don't love a game, I know how much work and time and effort and love went into it from the designer. And so I realized I could talk about just my favorite thing about a game, my favorite mechanism, with the hope of maybe inspiring myself as I talk about it, and inspiring other designers to use whatever my favorite thing about that game is, and just to highlight other games I love. So that, unfortunately, I found a way that doesn't take much time. I don't do any entity, and I just turn on the camera and talk for a few minutes about a game that's specifically my favorite thing. So that doesn't take much time at all.
Yeah, that actually goes very well on theme about what we were talking about at the start of the stream about publishers supporting other publishers. Like just the fact that this is a stream sponsored by Arcane Wonders and we're talking about Stonemaier Games the entire time. That it's such a beautiful thing to give to this hobby, that series where you pick up other games and sometimes lesser known games and talk about why you love them, and you lend your platform to that space is really, really commendable. And we really appreciate it.
I think that's it, right? Like I particularly I found you as a content creator talking about other board game mechanics, and I think that's just such like a wonderful meld of like Arcane Wonders sponsoring the Stonemaier list and that sort of thing. We should shout out. I asked you in our little break what your favorite Arcane Wonders is. I can list off a bunch of their games if you're interested. If you don't have one off the top of your head. They have stuff like World Wonders, Neotopia, Air, Land, and Sea, Aquatica, Smartphone Inc., which I still need to play, Furnace, which I just played recently, Picture Perfect, Onitama, Viral, Mage Wars. Man, they got a lot of stuff. So does Stonemaier.
They do. I would say my top 3 from Arcane Wonders right now would be Air, Land, and Sea, which I really
so
love.
Good. That's such a classic.
The tug of war, and Aquatica would definitely be up there. I really love Aquatica.
Nice.
And what was the third one? The Sheriff of Nottingham, which I haven't played in a while, but we had many great games of that. Just popping open that little package to see what someone else has given you. Those are probably my top 3.
That's a classic.
Sure.
This is going to be a really random little tangent, but I just have to tell this story super quickly. My mom is a big board gamer, and she loves to make like life-size versions of games. And I have played like a real-life version of Sheriff of Nottingham where you had like, she would give you padding and stuff to pad out your bag, but we were throwing apples and like rubber chickens in bags and stuff. So whenever I think of Sheriff of Nottingham, I think of that. But yeah, no, those are great picks for Arcane Wonder games.
All classics. And I just realized, Ray, I want to play games with your mom. That sounds so fun.
Yeah, she rules. She's the best.
Awesome.
I credit her for like this whole hobby that I have now, because she's been on it. I like to say she has something like a 15-year-old board game geek account. She was an OG.
Wow.
I don't know if that, maybe BGG hasn't even been around that long, but she's been around for a very long time in the space. So yeah,
very cool.
But this isn't a stream talking about my mom.
I know. Speaking about, I do have a question in terms of like evolving in the space. I know that you've talked a lot about, Jamey, about crowdfunding in particular, and the differences that have happening. You started a little bit on crowdfunding, and even like your content creation, I feel was from those blogs about like how to crowdfund a game. I mean, like there's still very searchable things, and so I'm wondering how if you wanted to talk about like that journey of going into crowdfunding and then the decision to not use it anymore, not need it anymore, and what those sort of decisions were. I think that would be that's something I'm personally quite interested in.
Yeah. And Scythe, the game that I talked about today, was the last game that we had on crowdfunding on Kickstarter. That was in 2015, coming up on almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
It's so Stonemaier Games would not exist without crowdfunding, without Kickstarter. That I want to put that out there. But I do like our current method a little bit more than what we used to do. And it's evolved over time. But what it's evolved into is that these days, instead of crowdfunding a new game, we put all the time and effort and resources and money and love into making the game. And then when it arrives at our fulfillment centers, or when it's almost there, that's when we announce it. So we kind of keep it secret until then. And then we announce it, hopefully to a lot of excitement, certainly to our excitement. And we reveal it. We talk about it. I unveil it kind of in a design diary style way over the course of around 2 weeks. And then a few weeks later, we put it on our web store and we already have it in stock. And so we can start shipping it right away to people. The core idea is to instead of having like a 1 year gap between when someone pays for something and gets excited about something, and then when they actually receive it, it's maybe a few weeks. And I've really enjoyed that. I don't mind when a surprise comes up. Like, I still back a lot of things on crowdfunding, and I like when they surprise me by showing up at my door. That's fun. Yeah. But every now and then when I hear about a new game and I'm really excited about it, and I can just buy it and have it within a few days and then get it to the table while I'm still really, really excited about it, I love it. So we try to do that with all of our games.
That's awesome. That's something that, like, I feel I spend a lot of time in the crowdfunding sphere, and you do feel that gap, right? Sometimes it's more than a year, it's 2 years, and then but being able to just capitalize on that excitement, be like, hey, yeah, we got the thing, we know it's an amazing game, and you can have it right now. That feels so exciting to me. Yeah. I didn't realize it was that early. Like, you had all the stock in your warehouses, but that makes sense in terms of being able to ship it out effectively.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it removes a lot of uncertainty too, because I would say most crowdfunding creators, when they schedule ahead, they're hopeful that they'll have it within 6 months, maybe 8 months. But it's just a hope at that point. You don't really know what's going to happen with manufacturing and pre-production and freight shipping and fulfillment. It's all uncertain until it's actually in the warehouse ready to ship. And so we kind of take all that uncertainty. We take it out. It's not a factor anymore. We wait until we have that certainty and can actually ship it. But I will say that we are in a privileged position to be able to do that. I understand the many different value elements that crowdfunding brings to a variety of creators, big and small. And I'm not bemoaning that. I like that we're able to use the system that we have now.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to pivot just a little bit, because I feel like you've gained this reputation as this not arbitrator, but this bringer of knowledge of the production process, right? But you're also, as you mentioned earlier, you're actively involved in the design process for all these games, or the development process. And I love talking to designers about the playtesting process, because I feel like that's such an interesting point in that journey. And I was wondering if, off the top of your head, if you happen to have a really memorable playtesting experience, an opportunity, like an encounter with a playtester that really taught you something, or that maybe you realized something about one of your games that you might not have if you hadn't thoroughly, tested all your games in that kind of setting.
I love the specificity of that question.
Sorry if it's too specific. You can broaden it and take it however you want, but
no, I like how one of my favorite things about games are those memorable moments that stand out, whether it's in the design process or when you're playing the final game. One that does come to mind, partially because I've shared this anecdote before, but it really is a good one, because I love positive player interaction in games. Absolutely. I love when that happens. I love designing around it, but sometimes I just stumble into it. And it happened with Euphoria. So this is one that happened a while ago, but I do really enjoy it, where it was a moment in Euphoria. You have these markets that you can build by yourself. You can invest in harder to get resources in the game and put multiple dice on a market and construct it by yourself. But the first time I kind of thought that's how players would do it in the game when we were playtesting. I thought, okay, why would I let someone else help me construct a market if I could just do it myself? But I put a worker down on a construction site, or someone did at the table. I can't remember who it was. It was a long time ago. And then someone else did it as well. And as they did it, they looked across the table at someone else and said, hey, can you help me complete this? Because when you complete a market, you get your dice back, you get your workers back in Euphoria. And it was this moment of unexpected collaboration with the other players that felt really good. And it was one of those moments where we were actually like looking at each other in the eyes across the table, like, oh, I see you have this resource. You can help out with this in this moment. Yeah. It felt really good. There have been a few moments like that over the years, but that one definitely stands out.
That's amazing. I love that.
That is so cool. And I'm glad you brought up Euphoria, because I was trying to figure out a way, how can I bring up Euphoria into this conversation? I'm glad you did it, Jamey, because that was the very first Stonemaier game I'd ever played. I got into the hobby in 2015, and like anyone, I started with Ticket to Ride, like many people did, and I started going to my local gaming meetup, and I had no idea what was going on. And literally the game before that we had played Carcassonne. I'm like, okay, I know the Carcassonne's great, and then we played Euphoria, and my mind was just blown. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much cool stuff. And look at the board. I'm like, there's just so much, and I realized then, I was like, I like this type of gaming. I like modern board games. This, like, it challenged me, but in a way that I wanted to play more. And I'll never forget that experience. And Euphoria, actually, folks, if you stick around if you click on the links below, we have a post show that we're going to do, extended edition, where we talk about games that didn't make lists. But Euphoria was on my top 5 for sure. So thank you for sharing that. I love that story. It's so great.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm honestly glad it didn't scare you off, because Euphoria is probably the toughest teach of any of our games. Yeah. It's one of these games where, like, to understand action A, you also have to understand action B and C and maybe action D, which is really daunting for a teach. And so I love that you were open to that.
I was very fortunate. The gaming group that I got involved with, they were very welcoming and very good about teaching games. So I was able to get through, and they taught in a way just where I was able to understand it really, really, really quickly. And I was going to say, maybe it's because I'm so smart that I was able to figure out right away. But no, it was.
That's probably it. Yeah. I think that's
the teach was great.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Jamey, I am curious in terms of, like, this sort of overarching, your overarching publishing experience. Like, what sort of things have you learned, and how has your sort of philosophy changed and evolved as you've been in the industry for such a long time now, over the 16 games?
Yeah. 16 games, 11 years. It has changed quite a bit, because originally the first 5 years of it was just crowdfunding. We put something out of crowdfunding. We dabbled a little bit with retailers and distribution. Our main marketing outlet is still, it was much smaller back then, but it is still reviewers. Sending out, I send out a ton of review copies every month and every year of a wide variety of games and expansions. So not just the newest thing, but also going back. I still send out review copies of Viticulture, which originally released in 2013. I'm in the hobby all the time. People are curious about games all the time. I want them to have our games come up in their feeds, but also to have them informed to see if someone might want to discover a new game. Maybe they'll discover their new favorite game. And so we send out a lot of review copies. That's a big part of it. And with conventions having returned, we also send out a lot of games to conventions for their play and win sections in particular. It's a system used at a convention here called Geekway to the West in St. Louis, where you all have probably seen it at a convention, but you check out a game from the library, and then you have a chance of winning that game, all the games that you played, or any of the games that you played at the end of the convention. I think it's a win-win-win for the publisher of the convention and the attendees. And so we lost that for the first year of the pandemic, but we got it back. And I love that type of exposure for our games at conventions.
Cool. And just finding that sort of shifting marketing, making sure that it's out there, that people are talking about it and front of mind.
Yeah.
Cool.
I saw someone in the question ask about Wingspan. Goblin says, Wingspan was a massive hit, luck being part of that. Do you think a game about bees, they say would hit, I'm going to say will hit as much as a game about birds.
Yeah.
Wingspan is certainly an anomaly. I don't know if we'll ever have a game sell as well as Wingspan, but I do have Apiary, our bee game, right next to me.
Yeah.
And this game has delighted me from the first time I played it, and I had a blast working with Connie. Connie put so much amazing ideas into this game, and it was really fun to develop with her. So I don't think any game is going to take off the way that Wingspan did, but I hope that people who are open to worker placement games and want something a little bit more complex than Wingspan are open to trying it. And I love what the space theme adds to it. I know that might be a turnoff for some people, but I like that part of it. It sounds like you all have tried it, or
Yeah, I love Apiary. I'm a big worker placement person, and the idea of the timer slowly ticking down on those bees is just so, it's so wonderful. It's so charming. The board is gorgeous. Oh, I was so pleasantly surprised and delighted by Apiary. It's in a serious contender for possibly my game of the year. I need to play it a couple more times. I have 2 weeks left before I have to decide, but I really was really pleasantly surprised by Apiary. And I'm tangential friends with Connie, so I heard a little bit about her process of coming out with that game and her, kind of rise to stardom as this just breakout designer with such an amazing hit. And I'm curious sort of how you found Connie. I don't know actually much about how you find the designers for the games that you publish, if you're willing to share what that process looks like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We have a submission form on our website where people can kind of fill out a form to see the types of games that we're looking for, to see if what they have meets what we're looking for. Connie, I can't remember if Connie did that. I think she did that, but I met Connie because she came to a little playtesting event that we host every year called the Stonemaier Games Design Day. It's kind of like an unpub proto spiel type event, but it's just one day.
It's a thing.
Yeah, we do it every year in like September, October. And Connie brought an early version of Apiary to, or early for us. I think she had worked on it for about a year or two at that point, but she brought the game and it went over really well. A lot of people really had a great time with it. I watched it a little bit and I had some thoughts and notes, and she sent me a version of the game that she had revised due to the playtesting feedback a few weeks later. So that was how I met her, how I got my exposure to Apiary, and how I soon after really found that I love the game. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm also curious, at those kind of events, is there something in particular that you look for in designs that catch your eye? Because I'm sure you see so many submissions. Is there any commonality? Is there anything that, that experience the players have that you can distill that you look for when you're picking a design?
I think we might have
Jamey.
We might have lost Jamey.
Oh no, my question destroyed his internet.
Your question was too important.
Question. Yeah, because part of it's intangible. Seeing how are they immersed in the magic circle of the game. Yeah.
Sorry, could you say your answer again?
Okay?
Your internet cut out.
Yeah.
And then it cut up and you said it really quickly. No, you're totally good. If you could just say your answer again, that'd be great.
Folks, we do record this live on Twitch, folks. So this is what happens sometimes, but we're okay. Yeah, Jamey, if you don't mind answering that question, that'd be great.
Yeah. So when I'm watching people play games where I don't know much about the game, I'm more watching the people than the games themselves. I'm watching, are people laughing? Are they smiling? Are they intensely looking at their player mats or the board, or are they checking their phones? Are they kind of checking out? Does it seem like they're questioning a lot of things? So I'm looking at the people, and I'm also looking at least a little bit the user interface of the game. Like, can I understand a little bit of what's going on by just looking at what I can see on the table? Yeah. I don't expect to understand everything from that, but usually at Design Day in particular, I drift around and I spend like 10 or 15 minutes every table just trying to absorb what's going on and seeing how people are feeling about it. And we also ask for people to rate the games that they play at Design Day. So I often take those impressions and then I compare it to what people actually seem to really enjoy at the end of the day.
That's awesome. I love that little advice of looking at the players as opposed to looking at the game. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. Just one quick tidbit. I was very fortunate. Jamey had brought me out to Stonemaier Design Day a couple of years ago, and it's one of my favorite experiences I've had in the gaming industry because, number one, I got to go to St. Louis for the first time in my life, which was great. And I'd mentioned this. I talked to, you get to know people at the playtest event, a lot of locals, and I got to know a lot of locals there, and you have a really wonderful scene out there, Jamey. Just very, a lot of great gamers, very kind, they're welcoming, and to be able to see a lot of these games, taking shape was a really cool experience. So thank you again for bringing me out there. And also, for the first time, I got to try a toasted ravioli, which was delicious. So y'all do it right in St. Louis.
Sounds really good.
I thought that was a game when you were first. I was like, what game is that?
It totally should be a game.
Dude, me too.
I was like, I've never heard of this one.
Why wasn't that on our top 10 food themed games?
I'm like, I immediately
delicious.
started Googling. I'm like, what? My Stonemaier research has been just sorely misplaced.
That's the secret 17 Stonemaier game.
Yeah.
That's what's in the closet behind you.
There you go. Yeah. Someone had an interesting kind of follow-up question in chat, which was, your answer was for what you look for when you're seeing a playtest in person. Is there anything you look for when you receive a design on paper? Is there any way that a design can stand out on paper? Because I know from my experience, it's really hard to read about a game and understand what it feels like. So is there anything that you look for that, can help you parse a game when you see it on paper and decide that it's going to be good on the table?
There isn't. It's a great question. I don't think there's a magic answer to it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just I guess looking behind the scenes at our process, we have this form that you fill out that mostly just determines if your game is the type of game that we're looking for. Things like, does your game play up to 5? Have you play tested it up to 5 players? Because that's a hard limit. We don't publish any games that only play 3 or 4 players, for example. And then my coworker and co-founder Alan reviews the submission, and this is where you kind of have to have a little bit of magic in the way that you describe your game.
Sure.
And I think the best way to do it, the best way I've seen, maybe kind of 2 things. One is to not try to sell everything about the game, rather sell between 1 and 3 hooks, things that might really hook someone in. Because if I don't know, if you make that list too long, then nothing's going to stand out. If you maybe make it too short, that may not seem like enough, but I would say 2 to 3 things that are big hooks. And it is always helpful Alan always tells me this, when someone is open to filming a few minutes of gameplay, like show us 3 turns of the game. And on the video, if you're comfortable on video telling us what the hooks are, that's fine. You don't even have to put your face on the camera if you don't want to do that. You can just show us the game on the table. But watching a game in motion can often give us a better idea, or it definitely can give us a better idea of how it plays than through those 3 lines, or even from a rule book. Because if we're getting 50 submissions a month, we're not reading all those rule books. We're using other filters along the way.
Yeah, of course. That's a great answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And one last question maybe from chat, if we have time, Ruel.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take one more question, and then we'll be on our way.
Sure. I just wanted to ask this. Jamey from chat says, on average, how long does a game take to fully playtest? I think that's an interesting question. It's obviously impossible to answer because every game is different, but I do think that peek behind the curtain of that process can still be interesting. So if you have anything to add about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, it depends on the game. But I'll use some examples. Like for Apiary, Connie was playtesting it, I think, for about a year before she submitted to us. And then during the development process for it, I think we went through around 5 waves of blind playtesting. And along the way, I was playtesting it locally and playtesting every iteration of the game. I think that was around 18 months of playtesting that we put into Apiary. It might have been a little bit shorter.
In addition to that year that Connie did, or? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. After we accept a game, there's still a lot of work goes into it. And we look for designers like Connie who are willing to actively work with us. The designer isn't just handing it off to us and we just take it from there. The designer knows the game better than we do. So I want to work with the designer and find people who want to do that. Expeditions took longer. I thought Expeditions would, since it's the sequel to Scythe, I thought I'd wrap it up in a few months, but it took like 2.5 years to do play testing for that one. So yeah, it depends on the game, but usually it takes a while.
Amazing.
Awesome.
That's really cool. I feel like that's
we could keep going, but I don't.
From a lot of other publishing houses too, where it's a lot of them are just like, no, we're going to put our spin on it, and that's it. And you're going to have to just say yes and accept it. I love that you keep the designers fully involved and want it to remain their creations, right? Just with the little tweaks to make it that little Stonemaier flair.
Exactly. Well, Jamey, thank you again so much for joining us today here on the R&R&R Show. Thank you for sharing your insights, and it was just a joy to be able to talk to you again, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, it was great to meet the two of you. Ruel, it's great to see you again. And Ruel, you might have actually been at the design day that Connie was there. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, cool.
Really?
I think it was the first one after we had to not do one due to the pandemic. So you might have been there when she was there.
I'm going to have to, now that you say that, Jamey, I'm going to go look at my photos from that event, and maybe...
You had the hot scoop.
Yeah.
And I was in the corner of the room.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm totally looking at my pictures after this. Jamey, thank you again.
My pleasure.
We will get out of here. We want to thank our
Hey everybody, this week's episode of the R&R&R Show is brought to you by Arcane Wonders and their new game, Age of Wonders Planetfall, which...
And...
Hey gang, here I am. Hey everybody.
Hey. I don't know what I'm pressing. I'm pressing all the buttons.
We're back to the post show.
Yeah, we're back to the
little post show to finish us up. We've run a little over time because of those little tech issues, but that's what happens. It's all right.
Jamey, it's up to you. If you're comfortable just hanging out for a few minutes and chatting with chat, or you can take off. That's totally fine as well.
Yeah.
We just take a few minutes to go over things. what I'll do first is I'm going to share this video from Richard. He had talked about some of the games that didn't make his list. So let's see what Richard's got for us right here.
Okay, I'm going to rapid fire blast this top 10 as quick as I can because you spend more time with Jamey and less with me. But anyway, my number 10 Stonemaier game is Euphoria. Still one of the greatest all-time worker placement games for introducing us to the idea of worker bumping. I just wish it worked a little bit better with 2. That's what keeps it at the bottom. Pendulum. Oh man, what a criminally overlooked game. And I still, to this day, say the best way to play it is not real-time, but turn-based. Rolling Realms. Again, love it. Let's see. Number 7, Apiary. The latest game's getting a lot of attention right now, and very deservedly so. Bees in Space are awesome. Number 6, Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Oh my gosh, I love the idea, the puzzliness of it, and the way that it does sharing with the player to the left and the right. It so simplifies and streamlines that for a 2-player game, I think it's just absolutely next level. Red Rising. This is by far, in my opinion, the best of the fantasy realm inspired games out there. I didn't keep it. I ultimately ended up keeping the Star Trek one because my only problem with Red Rising is it's a full-size box, whereas Star Trek Missions fits in a tiny little box for shelf space. But I do think Red Rising eclipses fantasy realms and all of these other spin-offs. Charterstone. Oh, I've got such warm memories for that. I think it's the only legacy game we played through twice. We loved it so much. And I know everybody agrees, but I think it works great as a 2-player game if you use a couple of dummy players throughout the campaign. And then, number 3 for me is Viticulture, but that's with the Viticulture World expansion. Such a phenomenal job of turning a great worker placement competitive game into a truly spectacular co-op game. Wingspan is my number 2, and as I mentioned, if I ever get a chance to play that Asia co-op mode, maybe it'll push number 1. But yeah, my number 1 is Tapestry, as I already said. Okay, back to you guys.
Okay, so yeah, Richard selecting Tapestry was no surprise to me. I was surprised to hear that he had Wingspan so high up. I thought Viticulture would be a second, but as you heard there, Viticulture World, he really enjoyed. And I've got to say, maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I've got Viticulture World sitting in front of me. Yeah, it's off camera, but it's on my shelf of shame. And it's like, I need to play this because I love it so much. I haven't played it yet. But just quickly, some of the ones that didn't make my list, but I had Viticulture number 1, Wingspan number 2, Side number 3, and again, those can totally, depending on my mood and what time of day it is, they can totally interchange. Number 4, Euphoria, but it is number 1 in my heart because it was the first one I ever played, and of course, number 5, Tapestry. Ray or Chris, any extra thoughts on Stonemaier Games for you both?
Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I mean, I talked about this in between all of the answers because I couldn't just pick one. I mean, my top 3 probably would have been Viticulture, Wingspan, and now Apiary. But I wanted to let you have Viticulture as well. But I've been gushing about it all stream. I love Stonemaier titles, and truly, I just want to kind of circle back to how much I love Wingspan and how it changed the hobby. And now that I can say that to Jamey's face, now that he's here, truly, like, I've seen what that's done in my circles and my friend groups. That has introduced so many people to this hobby. And
okay, yeah.
Oh, no.
Par for the course for this, folks. Live streaming, audio, video issues galore. It is what it is. But Chris, what about you? Thoughts? Ray,
I could hear Ray's mic, but
really?
I can hear Ray.
Okay, maybe I should shut up.
Yeah, you were saying beautiful, wonderful things about Wingspan, and I was
saying beautiful, wonderful things about Wingspan.
Well, I think what I think is really amazing about Wingspan is like I'm really cheap. Like I buy cheap things. I'm never deluxeified. I'm a poor actor. That's what I am. But what Wingspan sort of is, I made a list on my channel about like the top value games, and Wingspan was like in the top of that. Not only to get like such an awesome game, the production quality, like compared to everything else around the same MSRP, I personally feel that the production quality in Wingspan is like off the charts incredible. Like you feel like you're playing such an awesome premium game for what I would say is like a beautiful average MSRP of whatever it is, 55 or 60, where I'm not sure of the exact one, but I know it's around that bar. I just think like that's what made me personally like really enjoy Stonemaier is I felt like you set the standard for like quality at like a good price, and like good games at a good price with like great components. What else can you really ask for, really? I think Wingspan in particular like exemplifies that. That's what I wanted to say during the show, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't talk too long and we got Jamey on.
It's a great
so
additional
I didn't.
point, though.
Yeah. Speaking of, so Jamey, again, thank you for sticking around. Of the 16 babies that you have, we talked about one. We asked you to talk about one in particular, but are there any others that you want to highlight? Just based on anything that we talked about today. I don't know, anything, stories that you want to share. Again, I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Free reign to talk about all of your beautiful darlings.
Yes.
Sure. I can give a few other like reasons I might pick a game as number one. Right now, I'm loving teaching Apiary, loving teaching and playing Apiary. So I really am having a blast with it. I played it at least half a dozen times over the last month and a half. So that one might be like the one that's freshest on my mind to play again and again right now. Between Two Cities was the first game we published that wasn't designed by me. So that holds a special place in my heart when I stopped being just a vanity publisher and became a publisher of other people's creations too.
Yeah.
Scythe was special because it was our last Kickstarter game, and it was the game that I think put us on the map for a lot of people. Viticulture is special because it was the first, and especially since Viticulture is still played by people today. Like I never imagined that would happen. This little game that, I think we had how many copies? We made like 2,500 copies in the first print run, and yet we have 200,000 copies in print now. That's incredible to me.
Wow!
What a triumph that your first game is still so in the lexicon. Is that the right word? Like in the discussion, it's still a game that is people's favorite game. That's incredible.
Yeah. And then Rolling Realms has been a delightful surprise for me too. That's one that I designed during the pandemic to play remotely. And it's one that I did not design it so that we could publish the like realms designed around games by other publishers, but that is what has happened with Rolling Realms. So many other publishers have said yes when I reached out to them and said, hey, can we design a little realm inspired by underwater cities or Boon Lake, or I don't know, we have a whole bunch that came out recently. Hokkaido, Praga, apiaries in here, Potion Explosion, Can't Stop. That's been a delight to find, to kind of take my YouTube channel, take my favorite thing about a game and distill it down to a one card that goes into Rolling Realms. So I've had a lot of fun with that too.
Cool.
That's so cool.
And I saw in chat too that there's a new Rolling Realms coming out 2024. Is that true? That's exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of a new core set.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. New core set of Rolling Realms. Nice. And it's basically just a box designed a slightly different way so it can hold all the Rolling Realms stuff, because we have way more now than we ever imagined we'd make.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Will there be bigger dice, or are we still sticking with the dice that you have?
Infinitely bigger dice.
I tested dice that were even bigger for the original Rolling Realms, but every time they hit the table, it sounded like it was going to break the table. Like they were too big. I think dice can't be too big. Yeah,
don't believe
I mean, they would.
No such thing.
Oh, that's
so there will be different colors of dice, swirly colors of dice in the new one, but same size. Yeah,
very nice. Very nice. Cannot wait. We're excited. Folks, I think that'll do it for now. Again, Jamey, thank you so much for your time and your energy today, and also dealing with all the audio and video issues that we had. We really appreciate it. And what we're going to do now, folks, is send you on over to the next channel. We're going to raid Chris and Ray. Thank you, as always, for being the hostess with the mostest. We're going to raid Good Time Society. Becca and Jake, I believe they're playing Dune Imperium, which is another fantastic game. They're going to go live soon. We're going to raid on over there, folks. Stick around. You get additional Rahdo channel points, which you can spend on all kinds of cool stuff here. We're going to send you on the raid right now. Bye, everybody. And we're waving.
Bye.
We're waving. And I believe...
Yeah, I think we're out.
We're out. And
we're good.